Trying to use the meeting, put up to Archdale, and lots of stuff goes there.
This is the last
All right, sure, we might up there a little bit.
Mayor, this is one of the, we do go down there and bring up.
Yeah, they do, we have stuff.
All right, I'm good.
And all this stuff, dang.
Read the whole thing?
Yeah. Well, I got what Trevor, last thing Trevor sent out. Is that still current?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you click on that link, it's.
Yeah.
They'll bring the packets.
Save a tree, I'm good.
I guess we're ready to go.
You need this.
The packets on that order, but you can go back to those 4 or 5 by Walker's phone.
I can't see Walker.
I can't either.
Turn it sideways and it'll get bigger. Well,
We're good. I know what to do the first couple of times.
let me see that.
All right, it's all right. Should I get Holly another minute?
Yeah, Tammy went down there to get it. Here she comes. Here she comes. She's here.
Oh.
What time you got, Holly?
That looked like don't ask that twice, Clark.
I thought it was don't ask me the first one. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm calling on Chief Doctor and Chief Summers.
Right.
All right, got it?
Then Kristen and here you go.
Yeah, got it, got it.
Here it is.
I need to know, basically.
That's Kristen and John, that one. Anita. Thanks, sir.
Well, good thing, go back to. You tell me.
That's right. I just put Jack behind me.
Thank you. We got enough to get going.
All right.
Yeah.
It's July.
Yep.
Okay.
That was the old, and what's new.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will call this meeting to order. This is the Thursday, July 11th meeting of the Ashboro City Council. And I apologize for the delay. We were just a little bit slow getting our ducks in a row here. First thing I'd ask is that you all stand and join me in a moment of silent meditation. And we will follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. There's good news and bad news. The good news is that we're indoors and not suffering with the heat outdoors. The bad news is that we have quite an agenda to go through tonight. So the first item on the agenda, and I would consider it a privilege to call on the Christian Terry and John, I'm sorry,
Evans.
John Evans, who run our United Way campaign on behalf of the city of Asheboro. And they are the two people here at City Hall that work closest with Elizabeth Mitchell. And if any of you have been paying attention lately, you have probably seen that Elizabeth Mitchell has finally, against our wishes, called it a retirement. So I'd like for Elizabeth to come up. I will call on John and Christian to come up, and they have an award to make.
So it really is a bittersweet moment because I have grown to know Elizabeth and really been very, very fond of working with her and getting to know her and being a friend to her over the last 21 years as we have been working together on the campaign, just seeing all of the personal care that she puts into serving the community, dealing with issues involving education, health, helping people sustain a living, and really just the amount of personal care that she gives to every individual that she comes in contact with. It's amazing that she will remember any issue someone is going through, and all the thousands and thousands of people that she knows, and how she really shows care, that it's just really in her DNA to be that way. And it's just been an inspiration to me to know Elizabeth and just see the way that she lives. I think that's an inspiration to everyone. So just want to recognize Elizabeth for the Ashboro Pride Award. And she has been with the United Way after 21 years here in Ashboro. She has graced our presence via Scotland, Connecticut, New Jersey, Chapel Hill, and then Ashboro. So we're just glad that she has been here with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
If I may take a moment of personal privilege and just comment that it was a true blessing the day Elizabeth Mitchell decided to come to Ashboro to take this job, and she has made more friends than anybody I know. She's done more to help other people than any of us know. And we are counting on her continuing to stay involved in our community. She stood right out there just a minute ago and said, "You get some more money for me to pass out, I'll come back." So she has helped us coordinate family assistance programs and housing money and various things over the years. So we love you, and we will certainly miss the working association, but we're counting on you staying right here and being a huge part of Asheboro and Randolph County. Thank you.
Thank you. And John, for the group, will you tell us how much the employee
Yes, sir.
campaign
Thank you.
has raised?
So at least since 2000, the campaign has raised, and that's been in part because of Elizabeth's enthusiasm, and that is just under $650,000 over the last 20 years. So you think about all the funds and all the assistance that gives to the community, and just the multiplier effect of that touching so many lives, and we thank Elizabeth for all of that. So.
You're welcome to stay.
Can you afford me?
If we can get a grant.
Congratulations, and we are so thankful for you and so proud of what you've been able to do with us and for us. Thank you.
All right, you'll make me cry. You need to stop. Thank you.
Well, I've already started tearing up. What we're missing up here is a box of Kleenex. I need to,
Joanne, that's Joanne's in charge of that.
can you find me a Kleenex? All right. Now, the next item, which is also another bittersweet moment in the history of Randolph and the city of Asheboro. I'm going to invite all these guys standing out here who are firemen for the city of Asheboro to come in and file in and spread out along the walls over here. We want you in the room when we make this next presentation, and I will call on Fire Chief Willie Summers and Deputy Chief Cockman to come up and make a presentation to Brian Wood, one of our retirees. So you guys come on in and find a place up front here. This looks like everybody's working tonight, but I can assure you it is not everybody that's working tonight. Brian's your wife. You want to get her up front here, please? We got people to take the picture. You don't have to do it.
Every meeting a fire truck goes by, tonight is probably a recording.
Should I say Chief Wood? Thank you for 26 years of loyal and dedicated service to the community of Ashboro and Ashboro Fire. In addition, I want to thank you for your mentorship and your ability to instruct the young firefighters and the current firefighters and prepare them for the future. Finally, I want to congratulate you on your appointment to Assistant Chief for Randolph Fire Department. But more important, is your engagement to Miss Regina Brewer. So we want to thank you for your 26 years of loyal service to this community in Ashboro Fire Department. And I'm gonna take a moment to read this verbatim from the city. Fire Captain Brian Wood, alias Chief. In appreciation for devoted service in the fire department and dedication to the city of Ashboro, we would like to present you with this plaque. Congratulations.
Chief. Appreciate you.
Good luck.
Congratulations, thank you.
You going to work for Rambleman?
Well, we prepared them.
You understand chainsaw safety, don't you?
Mayor, now, you do need to know, your dad retired as deputy chief, man, is that correct? So, he sort of went, this is home, but he's sort of going.
Well, I guess in light of the legacy, we'll let that pass. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you very much.
Does that mean he's gonna have a 1,000,007 square foot building he's got to put out?
Yeah, sure does.
It does.
He gonna need new hose and a truck.
Guys, thanks for being here tonight.
Stay safe out there.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
See you, man. See ya.
Y'all notice there's a couple of those guys look like they're about 14. So, I would like to remind everybody in the room that our fire department is one of 23 in North Carolina rated, the highest rating, insurance rating available. And that's because of people like Brian and the instructional people that have the responsibility and have had the responsibility of training our people. So we're proud of our fire department. We hate to lose one that has that kind of longevity and experience. Unfortunately, it's going to be more and more of that. We started out a few years ago hiring lots of new people. So, all right. Michael Roney, item number 5 on your agenda. Mr. Roney is our Water Resources Director, and you're going to update us on the memorandum of understanding for possible membership with the Piedmont Triad Water Authority.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and council members. I'll go ahead and start by introducing a board member from the PTRWA, Mayor from Archdale, Mayor Dorsett. And Greg Flory is here. He is the executive director of the authority. They're here just to offer support and maybe answer any questions if we have any. But if you recall, at the May budget workshop meeting, that was one of our big focuses of that meeting, of that workshop, was discussing regionalization and our future plans with our utility. And with the growth we've got going on, we have assets that are very valuable to the region, and the region has assets that are valuable to us. So regionalization is a path I think we've all agreed that we need to move forward on. So tonight, I'm here to discuss with you, the PTRWA board has been doing a feasibility study, and they're looking to add us to their authority. And this is just the beginning steps. There's a lot of planning to go on, a lot of discussions to go on, and a lot of things to work out. But we just need to kind of get moving in that direction. So tonight you have a memorandum in your packet. I would be willing to answer any questions you may have about it.
That memorandum, I'm sorry, Michael, that sets up for us to begin the process.
It's just beginning the process. That's all we're doing. There's a long way to go, but we need to get started.
Along with things you've presented in previous meetings, capitalized cost of regulations and improvement, I think that's all very consistent with EPA and DEQ's goals. Generally, I'm against more regulation of any kind, but in this case, what we're entertaining here is more a result of regulation, not is regulation. I think there's a lot of economies of scale and a lot of, I think, the buzzword synergy to be gained from this as we regionalize with more industries coming. So I think it's a very wise step. You know, they've got a lot of resources, a lot of access, and thankfully we bring a lot of raw water resources as well. So I look forward to this.
As you recall, the state legislature mandated DEQ to do a study on the I-421 corridor and utilities, and we are a part of that corridor with so that's part of this as well.
Require a motion.
Yep. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Wastewater will be next.
More than likely, yes. So if there aren't any more questions, staff recommends you adopt the ordinance by reference.
Are there any other questions?
Just think it's a good idea.
Mayor, I move we adopt the memorandum of understanding by reference.
We have a motion by Mr. Bell to adopt by reference this memorandum of understanding. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Heath, discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. So this begins the process of,
The formalized
planning.
negotiations.
research
Research,
involved
planning,
in
negotiations, yes.
trying to negotiate
A master plan.
okay, great.
Okay.
Shared
Thank you.
fishing rights.
Mayor, we want to mention, it's always good to see Mayor Dorsett back there from our sister city, Archdale. Old Asheboro guy as well. You've been in this building a time or two, hadn't you, Mayor?
We went to school together, but he's older than I am.
I would, just for. And I would, just so the public knows that, I think most people know, but I was the city manager of Archdale before I came back home to Ashboro. I served with Mayor Dorsett, and, we were, I think, you and me and Chairman Fry are about the last three standing that worked on the water authority when there was no water and just barely an authority.
I replaced, our Mayor Don Hancock, who was one of the original. When he passed away, I was appointed.
Right.
07, I believe.
Yeah.
We go back to 4, there's a resolution we didn't
Yeah.
adopt.
So, you hear the old timers say that, you know, at the end of World War II is gonna happen, and now it really does happen, and, just like Duke Power is a huge regional, utility, the cities are working together to get that same economy of scale, and, you've all heard in the paper, or seen on the news, the forever chemicals that's hot right now, and we don't know how to get them out. We didn't put them in, but we have to get them out, and so we all want to work together, and our future is more regionalized anyway, so. Thank you, Michael, thank you, Mayor, and good to see you, Greg.
Being here tonight, Greg, thank you. And you too, Mayor. I need to back up to, item 4.
Did we skip one?
Councilman Bell reminded me here, pointed out to me that we did not, adopt the resolution honoring Captain Wood, upon his retirement. So, if someone will make a motion to adopt that, resolution by reference.
Mayor, I move we formally adopt the resolution honoring Chief Fire Captain Brian Wood by reference.
We have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have approved the, resolution honoring Captain Wood for his retirement. Skipping on back down to number 6. Mr. Nuttall, you and, Senior Project Manager Nia Rogers have a presentation to make.
A brief one, yes, sir. It is my pleasure to introduce Nia Rogers with McAdams. That is the engineering firm that has been working with the city for about a year now to develop a feasibility study for the proposed North Ashboro Greenway. For many years, the city has identified the potential for a trail along Haskett's Creek, particularly north of Vision Drive. Thanks to a grant from NCDOT that the city applied for and received, Nia and her team have been working with community members, city officials to put together a report on the viability of this trail. I'll let her hit the highlights of that study's process and its findings. I'd like to first, though, thank the city staff who worked together to support this effort, as well as the steering committee who offered input throughout the study, one of which was Councilmember Heath, as well as Mary Joan Pugh, who's in attendance this evening. We had a really good team that worked on this. We believe it resulted in a really good product. Those individuals are on page 2 of the study. I do want to point out that just as we received grant funding entirely to cover the expense of this feasibility study, there was no local funds that were put into this project. It is possible the city could pursue grant funding for the next step in project development, which would be preliminary engineering. We would do that and put that effort in if council's feedback this evening is positive, as well as the public's feedback on this as being an important initiative. So I'll turn it over to Nia. I want to thank her for being here this evening and leading us through this process.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm really happy to be back here. It's been a few months. And Trevor mentioned some of the things I was going to cover, just, some of the orgs and institutions that have helped us put together. A lot of city staff took their time out during the day to help us out with information we were looking for. The Integrated Mobility Division at NCD with the grant to help cover it. And of course, I love my team at McAdams. We're super fun people, and they make this work fun. So I only have a few minutes with y'all. These are a lot of words. I'm going to go quickly through implementing a Greenway. That's something Trevor alluded to, is what would you do next if you wanted to do this? I'll talk about some highlights in our report. And then Trevor already did the acknowledgments, so I won't necessarily repeat it, but I'll put the slide up anyway. So real quickly, when we're implementing a Greenway, there's a planning phase when you're like, we'd like to have something from here to there. You've got a line, you're not really sure what it means. At the feasibility study, that's where we are right now. That's where you start to look into, is it really possible? What's in the way physically? Is there something in the way politically? Do you have community support? So that's where we are right now. There's a lot of things that go into that. We're looking at technical things. What are the grades like? There's a stream in the way. Is there floodplain? In this case, we had a sewer easement that was something that was a potential help to the project. We had a lot of stakeholders we talked to. We talked to the schools. We talked to a lot of different departments in DOT. Gosh, we talked to so many people, but that's what we do. And Trevor was really great at being at those meetings as well to help us make sure we had kind of the city's representation there. And then feasibility studies also allow you to get that kind of gauge on what's the public interest in this project. So we did have a public survey for this project, as well as an open house style meeting. And then finally, the other thing about a feasibility study is it kind of sets you up for planning for funding and planning for implementation if that's something you want to pursue. And I just want to, for the folks in the audience or maybe online watching this, I want to make sure that people understand that a feasibility study is not detailed design. Like, you're not going to open this up and see the exact bridge or crosswalk that's going to be near the park or something. It's also not a guarantee of implementation, right? This body may decide this is not what we want to do right now. We're going to save this for later. And it's also not a request for property. We want to be really clear about that. That a feasibility study is not a request for anybody's property or whether that's an easement or an outright acquisition. I didn't go over the rest of the steps in Greenway implementation, but if you'd like me to, I can go back. I don't have a lot of time. So in this report, I know the folks on the council, you guys received it before this time. And one of the first things we do is we talked with Trevor and a lot of city staff about, like, what's the goal? What are we trying to achieve here with this study? We looked at context. There's a lot of maps in that report, but for us kind of nerd people, that helps us understand what we have to work with. Where are the people? Where is the stream? How do these things overlay? Is there something historic? Where is the school? How do the buses get to the school? All that plays into how we put it together. We also look at policy. Do you have policies in place to support this project? That's another thing that we look at. Were there previous plans? From there, we start to develop some alternatives. We know that we want to go from A to B along this creek. Is one side better than the other? Is there a willing property owner on one side or the other? Is one side cheaper? Because maybe you don't have to build a big bridge. And these are all real things that we talked about on this project. Community engagement, I've already talked about. I thought we had a pretty good amount of responses here, especially on our public survey. And the folks who came to our public meeting gave us really great feedback. Evaluation and recommendations, that's where we kind of summarize the technical work and what we think might work well. And then in the implementation chapter, That's where you'll see things like some of the parts that we recommend to be in the trail, some of the policies you might want to start putting in place or start planning for. For example, one that I always hit on because I used to do capital improvement projects in another municipality is maintenance, right? Like you're building a trail, but who's gonna sweep the sand off that thing? You know, so there's a lot of things that we include in there as well, not just building it, but what happens to the life after. We also talk about funding. You'll see that there is a funding scan in the appendix of this report, which is going to be super helpful. One of the ones that I found was the most helpful for this particular study. There are some grants that are just for helping you pick which grants to go for, so that you don't waste time on something you might not be competitive for. And with that, those are kind of all the things we do while we're doing the study. There's a lot to it. You can ask me more questions. I'm going to go on because I only have a few minutes. This is one of my favorite pages in every study that we do. This is what we call the cut sheet. If you only had to describe the project in like one page, just kind of technically what are the parts and pieces, this is my favorite part. I'm kind of a nerd, so I like numbers and maps. But basically this shows you where it is in town, what are the major features around there, what are the major things we're going to have to construct. So in this case, we've got a path. We're going to have some crossings, some bridges, and so you can go into the report in some other areas and see what those might look like. We're probably going to need to cross the road and have some sort of flashing light there for folks. And then we want it to end of the park. So we've got a good map of where it is. And then over on the left is kind of the description of some of the things that you'll need to be thinking about moving forward. You know, how many properties might be impacted by this proposed alignment? You know, what kind of permits might we need to be thinking about if we pursue engineering design? How much is this going to cost? This really big one. And so for this project, we do a rough construction estimate. And then we actually escalate that to when we think you might be able to start building, like you say, your first phase. So that's some of the information that's in this cut sheet. It's one of my favorite parts because you can just kind of get the big snapshot there. But just some takeaways. It's about 1.5 miles long. We think it's going to be about $4 million. That is a little high. There are 2 structures that cross the stream there involved in this project, so that's where some of the cost is. You may need a few walls. But it's a good little project, and it's very buildable. I could go on about all the things we looked at here, but I'm just move along, and y'all can ask me questions later. The other thing I want to highlight that I also find super useful about these is the action plan. This is kind of a list of steps beyond designing the thing that would encourage people to start. You may not need to do every single one of these, but it's there for you. So when I talked about like who's going to sweep the sand off, that's in there. When we talk about maybe we want to put this in front of DOT and see if we can get some funding for them, who's going to do that? That's the kind of thing you can find in the action plan. It makes suggestions for, is there an agency, for example, the RPO, for example, might be the organization in this case to do that. So those are the kind of things we put in the action plan. And the first one that I always mention is adopting the study. Adopting the study does actually open you up to a few things like securing those additional grants. When you get into design, you've got an adopted study that helps you out with your permitting. So adopting the study is a good thing, but again, as we said before, it does not commit you to actually implementing it if you feel like now isn't the moment. Some other things that I've noted here is, you know, working with the key partners. So we identify other folks that can help you get this done. Pursuing the funding, that's going to be a big one. These are expensive projects. Most municipalities don't have all of that cash. But we've provided some resources to look at. And then I can't hit this enough, working with willing property owners. You know, if you find that you don't have willing property owners, you know, maybe there's another path. Maybe there's an alternate route. Maybe you do a side path, which is where it's like kind of alongside a road or something. So that's one of the things that I always like to put in there is that you want this to be a good project for everyone. So with that, there's probably like 20 points in the action plan, so I'll move on. Those are my favorite parts in the study. Those are some of the ones I find the most useful, but there's a lot in this report. I think it's a couple hundred pages long. Trevor's already done the acknowledgements, but again, we had spectacular support from Trevor Nuttall, Justin Luck, Kelly. You came out a lot and gave us a lot of moral support. Mary Joan, we had a lot of talks about funding, and I think, I can't remember who was representing parks, but gave us a lot of information about this park in particular. We're detail-oriented people, so we really wanted to understand this park and this asset, and how we could best bring the trail into this park. So there's some context in the report about this park as well. I think that's all I wanted to say, because I'm pretty sure that's been 10 minutes. Any questions?
No, I was really impressed with it as I was reading these, was it 200 pages or whatever it was? My goodness, it was so comprehensive. I've been up here for a while, and I've never seen anything as comprehensive as that. And it went into the details, and I'm a little bit like you. I like to see the maps and read the numbers and things. And it was, and not only did you just lay out a plan, you said, well, if that doesn't work, here's plan B. You know, and there were different options that we could look at and go in there. And I think, and maybe it's because I live in North Asheboro, and I see these things on a more regular basis than some other folks do. But I think this is a worthy project for us to adopt, this feasibility study. So this has just been fantastic to look at. So thank you for all your effort and everyone else that worked on this. This is outstanding.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We love what we do, so call us anytime.
Does the proposed route involve any public property now? The right-of-way number look small. And I believe it said it involved 9 parcels, but.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, some of the parcels are quite large.
Yeah.
A lot of the parcels are the privately owned parcels are quite large. One of the parcels is actually an apartment complex, so again, quite large. I feel like the park might be the only public parcel.
Yeah, there is no public access otherwise. I will say we have had good response, obviously no commitments from anybody, but we went out of our way to communicate with property owners and seek their input and let them know what's happening. So that has been a positive experience. And I just wanted to add, we have advertised this in addition to sending letters to a number of property owners in the corridor. And so it would be appropriate to allow anybody that wishes to speak on this this evening, Mayor.
Well, I'll say, last fall, we just finished construction on a very similar project in Kernersville, it's Kernersville Greenway. 2 nice little parking lots at either end, and it was well received. There were people waiting while we were loading the trailer.
I'm sure.
Well, and just having served on the working group, I just want to echo the thanks to everybody that served on the working group, city staff, and I certainly support adoption, as Councilman Burks mentioned, of this feasibility study. And if you haven't had a chance to look at it, it is incredibly detailed. And even if we don't decide to pursue this as a project, there's still very valuable information in this feasibility study that informs what our citizens are wanting and what they want to see that helps to enhance their quality of life. So thank you, Nia, for all of your work. It was a great group to work with.
Thank you for having us.
Come on up, Mary Joan.
Well, I'm thrilled about this study. This will be Asheboro's first Greenway, and I know John worked with Archdale for the Creekside Greenway, which is now almost 4 miles. And this was brought about by the Great Trail State Coalition of trail groups that got together and had the Year of the Trail. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk about that. But we also got this money for greenways, because most of the stuff we got was natural surface. So we came back in and got this money, and that's why it was fully funded, and Ashboro competed and got the feasibility study. In my mind, the next step is to go for some Great Trail State program money. Last year in '23, the legislature appropriated the first money for trails. $25 million is for all types of trails, natural surface, paved, bike, paddle, equestrian, the whole nine, and every phase: feasibility, design, construction, maintenance. So you can apply for any of those things. And that's what I would like for you to do here, is to go for the preliminary design of this, so then you'll get into a little bit more detail of that. It's close to my heart because I'm the one that got the grant to buy North Asheboro Park, to develop North Asheboro Park as a land and water conservation fund. So this is like full circle for me. So I would really like for you to do this and consider putting in the application. It's due September 3rd. So you've got some time to do this, and you've got a plan. So you're already halfway there in making the application. And we have the Great Trail State. That's what we're going for now, is a Great Trail State. And I'd like to have you all get some stickers for me.
Nia, just a question with regard to the proposed layout, and it's interesting to see. Were you warmly received by the property owners along the various routes?
So this was interesting. We did have, I think one of those longest segments, I'm not gonna call out names, but they did come to our public meeting and talk with us pretty openly about, their questions, and we received concerns as well. But I would say that my big takeaway was that it wasn't a no. And that, a lot of times you come out, people are like, nope, And I would say there was open curiosity about the project, and I think Trevor probably had more conversation with them than I did.
Did y'all look at, if this was a phase, would that be phase one, where you would go after that? Would you be able to add on to this?
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't know. One thing I noticed in some of the comments was it wasn't long enough.
Yeah, so Mary Jo mentioned the Great Trail State Plan, and, if you wanted to pursue that, I think it actually proposed from Black River all the way down to the UREs potentially, it would come closer to downtown. We kind of had just one segment to look at here, but yeah, it could be, I didn't drive out there and look at it all, but it could be studied, what does it take to do the rest?
Yeah, and I think for the project team, what we felt was important was defining what was implementable, and let's see if this is feasible and if it's supported, and we can always go from there if it's successful. So certainly opportunities for it to go east and west and further north and south over time.
I just want to make sure we didn't have dead ends somewhere.
Well, that was one of my first questions on this site.
So thank you, Mayor.
Would you pull the microphone down? There you go.
Yep.
And hand me the box of Kleenex, please.
Did it get put in?
It's back there at the back.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well, Mayor, can I make a suggestion? Since the feasibility study is pretty lengthy, and I don't know if my fellow council members have had a chance to look at it, just a suggestion that we place it on the August agenda to consider approving the feasibility study. Is that reasonable? Or, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at it.
You making a motion to continue this to the August meeting?
I'll make a motion that we continue this to the August meeting.
I thought that's what you said. Do I have a second?
Time to get the grant application.
Depends on how Mary Jo can write.
Well,
I think we'll be okay. If
we do have a deadline.
We put it on as an acknowledgement this evening, just to give time for the council to review it, so that would not be a problem, I don't think, for our timeframe.
All right, so I have a motion by Ms. Heath and a second. Where was the second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears, to table the possible acceptance of this.
Or continue it. We'll have the final vote in August.
Yeah.
If I may ask a question of the proponent. I mean, I don't know, I'm personally ready to adopt the study and then maybe defer the, pursuit of the grant funding for the design phase to next month. But I'm personally ready to move forward.
I am
With
too,
respect
but
to
I
the
didn't want to
acceptance of
assume
the
that people
acceptance
had had
of
a chance to
the,
look at it.
Design, so I've reviewed it, it is very lengthy, but at this
Well,
point, I'm ready to move
Unless
forward
there's
with that.
objection,
Yeah.
I will
would you
not,
like to withdraw your motion?
I will withdraw my motion, yes. Yes, I just wanted to be sure everybody had a chance to look at it, because it is like 200 pages, so there's a lot of information.
I mean,
Yes.
but I mean, you know, to
All right.
move forward with the other one.
So, now I'll entertain a motion that we accept, this presentation by reference.
I will make a motion that we accept this presentation on the North Ashboro Greenway feasibility study by reference so that we can move forward.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Heath. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Let me cut you out.
Motion carries. Sergeant, thank you so much for all the hard work. This,
Thing down the road.
you know, we've said, in all the years I've been sitting here, we've said, if you just get a little bit on the ground, the rest will be easy. And that's the key to getting a greenway in place, is showing people that it's, many people, it's not what they expect it to be, and getting a good start with something gets momentum. So, all right. Now, this is the appointed time, advertised time for public comment period. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that would like to address the council on any items of city business or concern? Bill, come on up, sir. Mr. Skeen, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council. I know you got lots to do tonight, but I've got a snapshot history lesson for you. 1970, when Asheboro took in North Ashboro, we became one city, but we had two fire departments. And at that time, my dad had been on there forever, and we all were joined. So in 1971, when I became of age of 21, I could join the fire department. Although I had all my Army time behind me and all this stuff, I couldn't join the fire department, but I did. So that was the North Ashboro Central Falls Sanitary District. And I can remember getting water lines up there and fire hydrants. This was because I was raised in North Ashboro. That's home. But that was a big day. At that time, volunteers from North Ashboro came to the city of Asheboro. We had 50 volunteers at that time and maybe a half a dozen fired full-time firemen. It's changed a lot, obviously. Chief McGloin hired me at that time. And in 2005, I was the last volunteer to go out. I had 34 years in. I retired as assistant chief. My dad retired as assistant chief, and my uncle Roy Merritt died, who both are deceased. He retired as assistant chief. So, a little history lesson there for the fire department. I still go by there 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, it's just, I don't know anybody. All these kids could be my grandchildren, most of the firemen, but anyway, it's in my heart. Just born and raised there. So it was a great time, a great brotherhood, and it's just in your blood.
And it was a great association.
It really was.
Merging those two communities.
Absolutely.
The city of Asheboro and the Central Falls.
North Asheboro Central Falls Sanitary District,
Yep.
yeah.
And we are, for those of you in the room, we are still using that station that was built at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, 1971, when that station was open. So, and now we're going to build a third station. So, it's amazing to see how far we've come and how we've grown.
Yeah.
Second snapshot, and I could not find it at home, but I have a Courier Tribune paper. 1930 something. And in it, on the front page, there's an article about Asheboro building city lakes. And there's also a picture from an aircraft taking the picture of the lakes. And in reading it, if I remember correctly, there was a lot of pushback on why the city council's building lakes. It was a big deal then, and it's a big deal now, 100 years later. But I thought there was, I wish I could find it, but I looked and looked. It's home somewhere, but I'd like to bring that one day and let you see it.
I bet Dumont still got it.
The original copy, probably, yeah. But anyway, so that kind of segues into what I'm saying here is I've been here at several meetings that came through the budget thing. I heard Ms. Reeves do a presentation on the budget, how tight money's been. Seems like everything comes back to the dollar, regardless. So then I see now that we're gonna have some luxury apartments. We're gonna have 300 more houses south of here supposedly for a number. We're gonna have some water going to the Wolfspeed plant, if I understand correctly, and some other areas. So we've got a lot of water that's gonna be needed daily. And I've heard the water plant discussed. I think you're looking at updating it maybe, and think about that. But probably wouldn't be don't throw any cold water on everybody's plan here for everything's pretty. We spend a lot of money on pretty, on parks and ballparks and sportsplexes and walkways and greenways. But we're not thinking about our infrastructure, water and sewer. And when you ride through Asheboro now, who is supposed to be the premier city for the North Carolina Zoo, it's like a plowed field and so many roads. Even in my house, there's 6 patches in front of my house where they keep putting the water lines back together. Not only there, but just anywhere. Look at Greensboro Street. I don't have to tell you, y'all live here. But we need, and I'm concerned about our infrastructure, if I can just put it that way, our water and sewer, because I guess Mr. Mooney can tell me how old it is. I have no idea. It's got to be 75, 80 years old, most of it, or more. Or more, yeah. I'm sure there's probably some terracotta still in the ground somewhere.
Dug up some last week.
Yeah.
When they redid Sunset Avenue, going out towards the bypass, some of that, the wood pipe was been gone, it was a tunnel.
Oh, I'll be darned. That's amazing to see old wooden lines like that. I've seen those, yep. But that's just a concern of mine, and I would think that obviously somewhere in the back room, there's being some grant money looked for. I don't know how many more gallons this is gonna require for us to go east and south and what have you. Several gallons a day. I think Mr. Burke said our plant would produce 12 million gallons a day. Is that correct? Is it still capable of doing that without an upgrade?
No, it needs an upgrade to go from 9 to 12.
Okay, so we need to go there. And we don't know what these plants are gonna use. I mean, they may say we're gonna use 1 million a day, and boom, all of a sudden, they've changed production, it's 2 million a day. We're gonna be able to cover that. I don't think we're drawing any water out of Lake Number 4 right now, if I understand that correctly, because there's a problem there with the filter gate.
Yeah, the intake. Right?
Intake, yeah.
Intake's rusted out at the bottom.
Right. So, you know, and I think that was tried to be fixed at one time and it didn't happen. I wonder why it wasn't, but.
Very expensive fix.
But is it not necessary to have so we can have that water source?
It is.
I mean,
Going forward it is, I mean.
Can you keep ignoring it though?
We put variable speed pump drives to come out of Reese was more economical and feasible for our current level of production, around 4 million gallons a day. Which is just, it was the most economical answer at the time for our need. A lot has changed, as you're alluding to, you know, with the anticipated need coming up. I can only imagine what resources it'll take to sprinkle a 1,000,007 square foot building.
For how many hours, if need be? Yeah, because those.
That will be a large tank and somebody's gotta fill it, and then when it's empty, they won't fill it again.
That 1,000,000-gallon tank could be gone in a hurry.
Well, unfortunately, we're not gonna be sprinkling that building.
But
We are not, but there's always one.
somewhere down the end of our line.
That was the, earlier in the agenda tonight where we discussed joining the Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority. That's part of that overall plan, so that we can tie that system to our system to have additional quantity available to sell to Wolfspeed and to Ramseur and to Franklinville.
Right.
As we go forward, and he who has water wins. Wars are fought over water.
Well, that's exactly right. And that's the thing about this newspaper article. People were upset over why do we need water, and now that foresight is really to our advantage. But here we got Lake Number 4 again with this intake gate. Is that not our insurance policy? But what good is it to us if you can't get it out? You know, if this line you're talking about from Lake Reese, unbeknownst to plane crash come in
Well,
and knock the line out, what do we do? we don't have Randleman yet, you know, for that supply of water yet.
Well, Randall can't supply us. I
Well, I
guess they
mean,
could
the-
reverse the
the
back
PT,
up
yeah.
vendor, but there are 2 lines coming from Reese.
Okay.
But you are correct. What we are working towards is interconnecting us with PTRWA.
Right, right.
So we can, so we're not here as
Right.
this thumb stuck out all by ourselves.
I understand.
And part of that, though, is if we can capitalize on some of their resources, we can get additional funding to fix the intake at Lake Lucas, which is gonna be a tremendous project. Whether we build a dam inside the dam and stop the water, then go in that gap.
Coffer Dam.
And
We have
build a
done
new
that.
intake.
We're talking about the way to
fix it.
get to the bottom of that pipe to fix it.
Right.
There's a couple of alternatives. One is a coffer dam, which is a dam inside that cuts water off while we repair the pipe.
Right.
Or
Another
drain
is to drain the lake, which will take 2 years, 3 years to refill possibly.
I lived over there for a while. I saw it down one time.
Yeah.
Did.
But that's part of this, all the forces that we're all working with and against, as well as the wastewater treatment side, which we need for economic development.
Right.
So there's 2 sides of that coin, and,
A lot of moving parts.
and Asheboro's been pretty fortunate that we could stay down here kind of by ourselves. But as this regional economy grows and the economic demands on your system are different, we kind of rode the backs for textiles, 100-some
Absolutely.
years.
Oh, yeah.
They're not in
here, are they?
textiles.
Yeah, they're not here.
Most people in the room don't realize that periodically we open one of the little lakes.
Like Bunch or
We
Lake
draw off of McCreary and Bunch to make sure we can still draw off of those lakes and that the quality, and I believe I've heard Michael say the quality in those 2 lakes is probably better than the quality in Lucas or Reese.
Wow.
So
I would think Reese was
about
short.
once a year, we'll open those gates and we'll draw off of the 2 little lakes. Used to be 3, but one, the dam was breached and it's dry now. But we have 2 lakes that are still pretty good capacity, and we just like to know that they're available when and if we need them. So we draw off of those about once a year, every so often, just to make sure that they're working and the quality is good. So, John, it's a big puzzle and lots of moving parts. And one of the biggest parts of this is to tie our system to the Regional Water Authority system, which gives us more capacity in other areas. A few years back, we went up the bypass with a 16-inch line.
Parallel to the interstate.
Parallel to the interstate, so that we could loop. We were in a situation where if a water pipe broke up there around Hardin's Furniture or somewhere, North Ashboro was out of water because it wasn't a looped delivery system. And the pipe broke, that was it until we got it fixed. So we put that pipe in so that it is looped, and we had adequate supply for the industry that's in North Ashboro, the people that need lots of water.
And tend to be our larger employers.
Yeah, when Champaign was up there, that was a big user.
And
Sarah Lee, that was our.
When we first started talking to Wolfspeed, they were saying a couple million a day, well, now what, 3, 4 million?
Well, there you are. And that's what I was saying a while ago. They say 2 and it may be 4. And we've talked about that and the water supply and the lakes and all that, but we still hadn't answered the question, what about our water and sewer within the city limits? our lines. When we gonna start putting those in?
I'm glad you mentioned it, because there are three components to this. There's raw water, there's treatment, and there's distribution system. And 50% or more of the condition of our streets in the city are due to utility repairs.
Exactly.
I mean, the street may or may not could have lasted longer. The asphalt's still very, very old, a lot of aggregate showing. But the most of the rough ride and all is coming from
Patches. Well, I'd hate,
patch on a patch on a patch, yeah.
Utility cuts. We had a break up there at the bridge store at Hardin's. And what, a month later, 2 months later, we had within just a few feet, another break on the same line.
there's 5 patches on Reading right there now within 75 feet in 2 weeks.
And the reason for that was coming down the hill, we had to keep digging and digging and digging to find good pipe.
Yeah.
To fix it, to repair it adequately, so you don't just fix the broken part, you fix the next part that's gonna break.
Yeah. Well, I just don't want to see us to do, have a plan and work your plan. Fayetteville Street took 2 years to get, and then what do? We go dig right down there, and here we go with water problems.
That was a gas line that was not
Yeah.
located by the gas company.
But it happened.
We've got 400 miles of pipe underground, which is essentially from our front porch right there to the front porch of the city hall in Wilmington, Delaware.
Well,
So there's a lot. People, it's out of sight, out of mind. For the average person who doesn't use it, you're familiar with what we do.
Oh, yeah.
Been in our business. So there's a lot of pipe underground, so
If you
there's.
cut their water off, they know it's broken.
Phil, here's where you at.
Tell me where I'm at.
We raised the water and sewer rates 2%, which is probably about a fifth of what they needed to be raised to make a dent.
agree.
We've got. City of Greensboro raised hers 9.
I saw that.
City of Reedsville raised hers 35%.
Saw that.
They had put off issues until they were out of options. The state was gonna come in and take it over if they didn't do it. How fast you wanna fix what?
Well, and here again, it's
I
like,
mean,
when you're out of water, whatever.
And we have in our budget every year a certain amount of footage for replacement. We still got, steel galvanized lines in the ground, and galvanized
Oh, I
lines
know.
will
I'll
grow,
replace mine.
get smaller and smaller and smaller until there's no water passing through it at all.
When you live over where we do, I have no water pressure. It doesn't matter. I live 1,000 feet from a 1-million-gallon tank, and I got 50 pounds of water pressure. Because I don't live far enough from the tank.
Don't live far enough.
Well, your toilet valves will last longer.
It's pill, yeah. Copper lines. Thanks for the encouragement. But that's my comment, and we're gonna spend, I hear $4 million for a Greenway and $1 million for a park over here, or $2 million for a park on.
We're not going to spend $4 million on a Greenway. We just passed the feasibility study. We're just
Okay.
looking at it and talking
And that's
about it.
grant money. I understand
Want to be
that.
clear.
But I think.
The law prevents us from commingling enterprise funds with general funds,
I understand.
It's all interrelated, and it comes back to the big heading of quality of life.
volume's the only way out of this thing. We gotta sell more. We gotta sell more watermelons. I don't care how big the truck is, we gotta sell more.
Bought one today.
But his point is that we should be managing the system, and our response is.
We need to start somewhere.
We lost,
I guess we'll have to start from the farthest point and work back to the tank.
Yeah.
we lost our number one water sewer customer twice in 1 year. When Champaign went bankrupt and closed down, they were $800,000 a year in revenue.
Yep.
Roughly, and then that made Sarah Lee the number one customer down here at the industrial park. And then 6 months later, they moved to Winston-Salem, that die house. And so we lost our number one water customer. We went from 5.5, 6, maybe 7 million a day down to 3.5 million a day in potable water.
In a fixed cost operation.
And that's the revenues we could have been using for water, sure, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean.
And I just talked to.
You're right. We're not arguing with you. We're just trying to help you understand what we're doing.
I think I do, yeah.
And we're not sitting here completely oblivious to it. It's just, lots of moving parts and it's not easy to deal with.
I look at all the pretty going on, but I don't see the ugly that's being repaired.
Just two different funds.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, you're getting ready to hear some ugly here in a few minutes.
I just talked to Neil Jackson Sunday, and they just came to, at the legislature, came to a recess. They got, I believe he said, $3 billion over there, and they can't decide where to spend it.
Well, I suggest
They're-
Asheboro every time we speak.
And I do too, and I think, maybe Senator Craven should be in on this
Senator
conversation.
Craven does a great job of bringing a lot of that to Randolph.
Well, that's true,
In the previous budget, Mecklenburg was the only competitor with Randolph who got the most money.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping maybe we can get some more of it, but,
All right, let's move on.
thank you for your
to
time.
the-
I'm sorry if it takes long, but.
That's all right. You didn't take 45 minutes
We're
like
gonna put
last
you on
month.
tour that the 2% water and sewer increase per fill was too small.
And I'm waiting for the July increase too.
All right. Anybody else that needs to address the council? This is your opportunity.
Well, don't beg.
We had one that took 45 minutes. All right. Okay, moving on. What do you want?
I got it, you got it, you got it.
Moving on, is there any item on the consent agenda that council would like to remove for individual discussion? And if there is not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a motion by Mr. Burks to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Heath is the second. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item 9 under old business, Mr. Ogburn will be presenting.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Mayor, members of the council, at the June 27th special meeting, we presented a change order to the Terry's Plumbing and Utilities contract as related to the Zoo City, Cone Health Zoo City Sportsplex. The council asked us to continue that to this meeting, and our city engineer, Mr. Leonard, was on vacation, so I asked him to give me more of the details, and I prepared this report. So, first of all, it caused the council a lot of heartburn and headache because we promised you we were through with this, and we wound up that we weren't. And so one of my responsibilities is to make the following, to acknowledge that and put the corrective action in place so that doesn't happen again. So I just wanted to tell you about what we asked Terry to redo and how this is broken down. So Trevor, please. So what sent us down this path? Though the final pay application we received from Terry's Plumbing, Utilities, and Inc., and I'll just call it Terry from now on, to complete his contract, highlighted that the contract amount was lower than the total amount of all payments requested. So Michael and Tom and Tammy and the engineering team dug down into all the details and found out that there was an oversight in adjusting for changes in concrete's amount from approved change orders number 5 and change orders number 8. So the change order 12, which were received on 6/5/24, was in the amount of $755,553.71. As we said on your June 27th agenda, you asked us to present it at this night and to give you more detail. As Michael got back from his trip and broke it out, he actually discovered that it was probably a better way to do this with 3 change orders, a new change order 12, a new change order 13, and a new change order 14. Now, the work the concrete work, and it's almost all concrete work, relates to adding these sports fields, converting them from original grass turf to sports turf, the commonly called, AstroTurf, that's down there now. We took advantage of, I said in the memo I sent to you guys, pretty lengthy memo, and explains how we went to self-performing as opposed to the traditional design, bid, build methodology of construction. We took advantage of the ARP funds that came down from Washington as part of the American Recovery Act, and we were able to make all the fields turf, not just the one field. We added and that required, also turf required, you have to accommodate foot traffic around it. We added fields 3 and 4, we had to add a concrete drive for safety and maintenance. As we had people go down there and start walking, we added additional walking space, and then we also freed up bleachers from the McCrary Park rebuild and brought those to use over there at fields 1 and 2. And then we won the grant for the fitness court that required additional concrete pad. So change order 12, which is the first phase of work. The phase is at the top, the higher end of the sportsplex. It's actually in the amount of $403,263. And that's the purpose of this change order is to amend the change order number 5, which corrected the concrete flat work quantity in phase 1. Change order 5 was dated 6/28/22. So you see by that's 2 years ago, how we're not here to say we didn't drop the ball. We dropped the ball on our end, but Terry dropped the ball on his end too. We added, change order 5 added 10,774 square feet of concrete flat work in phase 1 at a cost of $9, which was $96,966. The actual amount of concrete flat work installed in phase 1 was 55,581 square feet. That's an additional 45,000 square feet at a cost of $500,229. 500,229 minus 96,966 gives you $403,263. The phase 2, the lower part of the sportsplex, also required an amendment. That actual amount was $302,832. We received that on 7/2/24. Now, when Michael got back, he took Terry's original request that we presented on June 27th, found how it actually related back to what 5 and 8 had Terry's folks resubmit it, and then we prepared this report for you. So the engineering team's done an excellent job of finding this. So I want to report now. The purpose of this change order, the new changeover 13, is to amend change order 8, which included concrete work in the quantities in phase 2. So change order 8 was dated 5/17/23, now a year ago. And it added 10,061 square feet of concrete flat work in phase 2 at a unit cost of $12, $120,732. The actual concrete work installed in phase 2 was 35,297 square feet, additional 25,000 square feet, with the cost of $423,564. That amount difference, $423,564 minus $120,732 is $302,002, which is the amount at the top line of the slide. Now, one more thing before you jump back, Trevor, please. You'll notice that in contract, in change order request number 12, the contract concrete was $9 a square foot. In phase two, it's $12 a square foot. Some of you would ask, why is the concrete two prices in the original presentation we had scheduled for last 2 weeks ago? That's why. And you can see how we had trouble finding it too, because it's 2 years and 1 year ago. So that's change order 13. And during that year time, the price of concrete went up $3 a square foot. Now, change order 14 is the easiest part of this. This is to reconcile, that was all the add-ons, deducts, up, downs, down, ducts, and that's $49,458.71, which add up those 3, 12, 13, and 14, that adds to, next slide please, Trevor. So add up change order 12 is $403,263. Change order 13 is $302,832. Change order 14 is $49,458.71. Thank you, Trevor. Now, like I said, at our February workshop, not only were we surprised you guys with this additional change order, it was a surprise to us too. So looking back, as the project evolved, it became apparent that considerably much more concrete would be required than the original estimates. And what lessons have we learned from this, which is my job as the CEO of the organization to find out where we were weak, we weren't timely, we gave the council heartburn, heartache, and inconvenienced them. While managing the onset of this project, utilizing the experience of internal staff as a cost-saving mechanism, which we go all the way back to, as I mentioned in my background information, the loss of the Williamson case. The project was simply too large for three employees to manage, and the three of us are in this room. Michael Leonard, Tom Scaramuster, and me. The concrete cost overages were probably reflected by the contractor on each of the pay applications, the staff process. So when we dug down in all this, we found that the concrete cost is correct. And every square foot that he asked for in the pay application is what he gave. We failed to make adjustments in a timely manner, and we know that was a mistake in this project. Now, the corrective action, this is the most important part. This is the last large self-performing project the organization intends to undertake. Okay, also at this time, we were doing the Sportsplex due to the receiving of grant monies and the demand of the Carolina Coastal Plain League and quite frankly, the extremely dangerous position with the 80-year-old grandstand at McCrary Park. We wound up having to do two projects at the same time. That turned out to be more than we could about manage two. So while the self-performing has served us well, these many years, my entire time here, since 1101, it is now time not to use that process anymore. For example, Fire Station number 3 and Emergency Operations Center that we will build on Zoo Parkway will use federal dollars, and self-performing is not allowed when you use federal dollars. The new Asheboro Regional Terminal building, which we hope to get federal funding for, will also not allow self-performing, neither will Gerald Garden, as we intend to use federal dollars. And for it, we have applied for, as Mary Jo mentioned, on the North Ashboro Park, how it was done, the Land Water Conservation Fund, which is a U.S. federal program. We have a grant application in for that now. It looks positive. Maybe we'll know something this fall, and that will require, all of these projects will require the traditional method of design, which we won't do, bid, and bid. So we'll use, like we do in the large water projects, the general fund projects will be that way too. Also, the best practice should have been the contractor change orders for these items to reflect changes should have happened right when they progressed, as the project progressed. But it did not happen in this case. So that's where we are in this project. Next, please, Trevor. I'll mention this. We have put this corrective action in place. You'll see that in item number 14. And I'll be glad to answer any council's questions.
John, I want to point out some significant differences. I think your explanation and presentation has been quite candid, very straightforward, and accurate. But I think under lessons learned, the first paragraph, I think it needs just a little further explanation, not from you, but light shined on, while managing the onset of the project, utilizing the expertise of internal staff as a cost-saving mechanism, we realized the project was too large to manage for 3 employees, naming yourself, Michael and Tom. I don't want it to go unnoticed. There's many types of managing a project. If you've got a complete design that encompasses what you're gonna do, and you go out there and you hire your subs and you put everything in place, that's considered project management as well. And this grew, and as you've accurately stated, larger than the capabilities of these numbers of people to handle a design build project of this capacity. This is a large project for I know the various hats that Michael Leonard was wearing during all this, and Tom, the layout and the state. I mean, it was quite an accomplishment.
It is an accomplishment. We don't want to shortchange the fact that there have been lessons learned, and we don't want to lose the fact that we completed the project, and we did save.
I think you saved a minimum of $3-4 million.
I was going to guess about 2.8.
The
2.8 by performing it, and it's cost us some heartburn, and we didn't intend to count.
It may not be pretty, but it was tasty sausage.
That's what and so.
And I want to compliment everyone that was involved, because I went down there daily, and a lot. There was just a lot went on.
Well,
it was too big for the way it got, but it was finished. Nobody
the
gave up.
The other issue is, if you could just unring a bell and go back and do it, then it would have been a contract for Terry for $13.8 million. Debbie would have had to pull all the money out of fund balance, put it over here, and then have that contract preserved. So as we did it, we managed our fund balance too, which is ultimately what we were trying to do through this project anyway.
But
that being said, we're here today because we missed an additional amendment to change order number 5 2 years ago, an additional amendment to change number 8 1 year ago. We asked the council to approve these 2 change orders tonight, which is the new change order 12, the new change order 13, and the new change order 14, so that Terry's Plumbing Utility is through at the Sportsplex. He has 1 track hole left down there, if you go down there, to be picked up, and he is done, gone, out.
And at a minimum, we're out of the design build business of that mechanism, of that magnitude.
Period.
With this level of staff, so I appreciate.
So and I didn't want the council to know why we did it the way we did it. I want the council to know, I'm sorry, why we did it the way we did it, how that had served us well. That's probably not the best methodology going forward on
As these projects get bigger.
As these projects get bigger and more complex. And we want the council to rest assured that if there are corrective actions needed, we will make them. And I thank the council for their time.
So we started at a contract price of $3,700,000, and we have change orders of $10 million. I don't know how that's possible.
We just added to his contract.
You
This
added to-
change order at the first contract, Terry was 750,000 plus or minus less than the next contract.
Was this priced before it was implemented or built or constructed? Or did he just build it and then bill us?
No, we negotiated every change order with him. We want to do
How
this
did we miss the concrete by 44,000 square feet on one and?
because we
25,000?
added the turf fields in the middle of the project.
Who paid for the turf field? I mean, we paid for it, but did we pay Terry or did we, if we're self-performing, why did we not pay for it? Because there's a charge in there for it.
Turf fields were on state contract through our Keystone
Purchasing agreement. So we bought those through a purchasing alliance that the state allows us to do.
Okay, well, there's a change order in there for $1.2 million, change order 4 for $1.2 million. It's on him, and I didn't know why, if we're self-performing, we're paying somebody, and it shows that we paid it to Terry. It's on his schedule, it's on his billing statement.
What was change order, was change order 2 field 1?
No, change order 4. It's change order 4.
Was change order 4 field 1? Did we do 1 field with Terry and 7 fields with field turf?
I would have to go back and look.
I believe that's right.
I'm not aware.
Okay, it's change order 4,282,000, and it says been paid 100%. And if we're self-performing, we don't need to run that through a contractor, because I mean, there's a percentage. I'd want money to run it through my business. Yeah, I know he does, but why we didn't just buy it straight
I
out?
think Terry we contracted with Terry to do field 1 and he subbed out 2 fields. Is that not right? I have to look that up. I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
That was my recollection.
So what?
That was my recollection.
Yeah.
And then when we got the money to do the other 7, then we went
We
direct
went
with them.
direct to the contractor.
But we
right.
still had to do the concrete work around those
Around all of them.
for the turf contract.
Does anybody know if we had a price escalation clause in that contract? And I'm relating that back to from the $9 to the $12. When you're using a unit price, it typically stays in there unless you have a price escalation. And if you do have a price escalation, you have to have written proof that it was that way. Or did we just say prices went up and we went to $12?
There is no specific, as I recall, we went through it, I don't remember that there's specific wording in the contract beyond stating that the prices would be negotiated going forward. It doesn't specifically say you have to justify it or anything like that. It does make mention of discussing or negotiating a different price as the thing goes along.
Well, I mean, typically when you have a budget number or a unit price of $9 in this case, in a contract, that's to use when you run over, not 44,000 square feet over. That should have been bid as a single item. Because $12 square foot sort of encompasses any and everything you run across. I know it was COVID, because we put price escalation clause in everything we did, because you don't know prices were changing that quick. But the reason I ask, $3 doesn't sound like much, but if you do the math, that's almost $384,000 more it cost the city. $1 a foot would have made a big difference. And I shared with an earlier meeting that that price, I don't know what all went into that price, but it seems to be on the higher end what I could get it done for. And that's all I'm asking. And that's why I was saying, if you have a price escalation clause in there, and even if you change it, there should have been proof, okay, here's my concrete bill before, here's my concrete bill after. And then you know, it has to be justified. It's just can't say that my price went up.
Well, the prices were over a year apart, and they were different change orders, so if there was pricing allowed for once one change order is completed, so I don't know that it was a specific unit price for each quantity, because those quantities.
Well, they applied it to all the extra concrete, so it was a single unit price.
It was a year apart, though, I mean, there was.
It was, but that says that it went up 35%.
They were different, locations, so they asked for, the work was completed on one change order for that quantity. A year later, they had another location and they added it, and apparently they asked for another price. I know, on state contracting, after you, on a major bid item, after you run up to, exceeds it over 100%, you get to reprice it anyway. I mean, you're not held to that unit price once the quantities change a certain amount.
Well, you're right, but you also have to refigure it, and prove why it went up.
There's no doubt, you don't just get to send an invoice.
Exactly.
And that's,
But
we don't,
concrete did go up, and I haven't done any math on any of this, but we all
Yeah,
know. it went
but
up.
we're not-
It goes down.
we're not arguing that, the staff's not arguing that the methodology needs to be changed. That's why we purposely recommend a corrective action. And on the next projects, we won't do them the way we did this project, or the previous 26 we've done, or whatever. That's the corrective action.
Did, was this our billing? It's the engineer's engineer's counterpart to the AIA document? Is that what we used, or is that something the contractor used?
That was, you talking about the pay app?
Yeah, well, the pay app.
That was sent in by the contractor.
Okay. Did he send in these change orders too? I mean, did these change orders that have been revised and everything like that, is he the one that revised? I just didn't wonder why he didn't use the same program for the change order, because there's a Form 941, that goes with this.
So according to our book, it says they needed to use that particular change order.
The one that's in our, the ones that were sent,
It's
okay.
in our contract book. The one that, it would be, I'll have y'all's packet.
Is it this one, Michael?
Yes.
Well, if you'll look down there under approvals, it says, to be effective, this change order must be approved in accordance with the contract documents. And that tended to mean it should have been done beforehand. And it says the instrument's been pre-audited, I'll get off of that. I mean, some of this procedural wise, I don't, like I said, you're right, Walker, when it gets to a certain quantity, it changes as far as that.
Or you have the ability to request.
Yeah, exactly. But we just paid a unit price and we're self-performing, we should have got more concrete prices. I mean, if it goes up, I mean, if we're self-performing, then he's just a sub to us, if I understand how we're self-performing.
Yeah, I think the term self-performing is probably broad for
So it's either
methodology you want. I think we self-designed, we self-helped, and then we had I could argue whether he was Terry a sub or a prime as a practical matter, not relative to these formal documents. Down there, but that's what I observed, and the commingling of who is doing what, I think, added quite a bit to this confusion, which I think is
So this overall.
why they're gonna discontinue this method. The project outran the resources, and
Well,
here we are.
I remember very, very well the lawsuit that was mentioned in the printout we got.
I was standing there, I remember it very well.
And the main reason was that there was litigation with that particular contractor all over the state.
It was.
And the city really didn't want him to bid it, but they said he couldn't allow him not to. So
He had a
he was
bid.
notorious for bidding low and having a bunch of change orders. And,
And an unclassified excavation job, and they saying the city didn't make him aware of
Exactly.
underground conditions, and
and-
that was just a hoax.
yeah, well, they had a better lawyer than we did. That was the problem. But I got a couple more questions, and I'll let it lay. There was nothing in the unit prices as it related to the dust trails, I think it was. Yeah, the 8-inch gravel dust trails. They didn't have a unit price in here, and typically on these things, you can't close these things unless you have a unit price in there. Every line's gotta be full, or red bells go off. And, I know he
think that
gave us
item was
credit,
removed at some point in time.
right, but,
Yeah.
but there should have been a unit price in there, because I know he gave us unit price credit on it. And we did, and I did, like I always say, trust but verify, you know? And, there was nothing in there on that one, and there's another one in there on the, item 225, which is another square feet of that. Because I know we credited back against the walking trail, paved walking trail. The last thing I got, and the reason I ask about if we're prime or not, I see if there's a payment, $50,000 for bond and insurance. That was on the 3.7 million. Okay, what about the 13 million? I mean, the 10 million? Is that covered somewhere in this?
So I'm assuming that he has covered that because our bond,
We all know what happens when we assume.
the bond was updated, the last update was for 13.48, on 4/9/2024.
Okay, so we
So
were
it's
covered
been
all the way.
updated, yeah.
It's been updated. Okay.
He didn't pass those
I
costs
don't
on
know
to
that he
us.
passed that directly on to us, but it has been.
Oh, he had to. I mean, that's $200,000, could have been. For 10 million, if you've got 50,000 on 3 million, I mean, and that's why I don't want to come back and bite us, you know?
I mean, that type of work, he's probably paying 2 or 3%.
Yeah.
If he's got a good bonding rate on that type of construction.
So, well,
If you got the bond, but you had your bond updated every time there was a change order.
Yes.
well, they'll come back. They'll audit it. That's the thing. If he hadn't done it, and if we don't have it recorded, they'll come back and they'll want to report that the job is closed. And then they'll want it, what it's closed for, and if there's only 50,000 showing on our pay app that's been paid, they're gonna want the difference, if that, in fact, there is a difference. But if we have documentation that bond is updated,
So the last update is through Cincinnati Insurance Company. The last update that I did was 4/9/2024.
okay,
So just a couple months back, and it was for 13,484,809.
13 million, yeah, I got you. Okay, so they're aware of it. I just don't want, like I said, it should show somewhere where it's been paid instead of that just 50,000 for bond. Because I mean, that gets forgotten a lot on smaller jobs when you add, $10,000, but you still got to put something in there for bond. So,
Along those lines, I'd add, and this is a question too, that probably just haven't got to, but we've got these supposedly final change orders. We've got a full explanation of it, and everybody seems to be in agreement that these are the final quantities. What I wanna know is, along with those, whether it's AIA or the engineering forms, and I much prefer the engineering over the AIA.
I like AIA.
As directed instead of as intended. But, have we got documents prepared for the final adjusting change order that makes every one of them columns match? Ones, twos, is Terry prepared to sign that these are the final quantities and sign off on the project? Cause without that, we've not got a closed contract. Would you agree with that, George?
I would, and I'm not in favor of paying it until we have that.
Well, and that should be part of the final submittals.
Yeah, I need it.
I've got to turn in all my closeout documents to get my retainage or whatever my final check.
I don't know the legal, that will leave that to our city attorney, but we need a sheet that says, if I find any additional costs after this, I receive this check.
Well, it's in that catalog of forms.
Yeah.
I mean, this, keep turning the booklet. It's the last.
Well, see, typically you give lien waivers, but you can't put a lien against the city, so therefore we need some other type of document that says, I am paid in full, and even if I realize that I stumble across another change order, which in this case could be possible, I'm not billing for, I cannot be paid, I won't be expected to be paid for.
Well, I'm assuming Terry's turned in all his lien waivers with every pay request like he's supposed to, and he's also, I would assume, turned in the sales tax reports, because the city gets a reimbursement for that if.
Yeah, that's done with every.
Those documents are supposed to be taken care of monthly, is that correct?
That's correct.
So,
Where they ever pay out, because occasionally he would not do it every month.
Yeah, that was,
and I think we're saying the same thing.
my biggest concern about this whole thing was that this document gives you, as the project manager, on a daily basis, you know exactly where that job stands. You know what I'm saying? And it's his responsibility to get that change order to you, and for you to get it signed and send it back so it's part of the record. And then the next pay app is added to it and everything's adjusted out. And we're not doing everything playing catch up, because some of that I know was just to balance out his numbers. It had nothing to do with what it actually cost. And, but I don't know how at this point we're gonna be able to differentiate any of that cost. But and I'm, like many, I'm flabbergasted that we have another change order, this amount come up now, that we just now are finding out about it, because we were told it was. And I'm not, and I appreciate the explanation, but, the ball was dropped, and we gotta move on, and I want it in writing that this is it. There is no more change orders. on this particular project because, and it will probably take Mr. Sugg to come up with some type of document since we don't really have it. I want it in at that and I want it in hand before the check is given to them.
Well, I don't think that's an unreasonable statement at all. I don't know that we need a document from Jeff, but we certainly can get one. I think the catalog covers it, but if it does not, to Jeff's satisfaction, then we'll get something that does, but.
Well, the catalog or the contract or all this other stuff has not sufficed.
No, I'm just saying in terms of the final closeout documentation
Yeah.
on the engineering pay application forms. One of the forms plainly is, for final adjusting change order and a final statement of quantities, and this is acceptance of the project. We've got to send a letter of acceptance, he's got to get his bond closed out. There's 3 or 4 documents that do that.
Well, I'm just saying, this hasn't worked yet.
And, well, it's gonna have to work this time, or we
Well,
should
that's
not
what.
pay.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, this has been off, it's been wrong, it's not filled out correctly half the time. There's no reason to trust this document to close out this job.
Well,
I mean, you can use that, but I think there needs to be a clear stated,
I agree with that, and in terms of, I think we're trying to say the same thing. In fact, I'd go so far as to, if it'd be okay with you, I'd like to make a motion.
Go right ahead, sir.
I'd make a motion that we, approve the change orders 12, 13, and 14. And as part of that motion, the payment be conditioned upon all the, final closeout contract documents with, Terry's Plumbing and Utility supplying whatever document the council and Michael Leonard agree is appropriate, whether it be a standard form, or in addition to that, if you, think some sort of a document that you've drafted as well, that payment has been received in full, and the project is closed out, and we're done.
Yeah, upon receipt of payment.
Yeah.
It closes any financial responsibility the city has to me. I mean, I assume y'all reconciled this all back now, Michael. I assume you've all reconciled it now after this
Yes.
second thing. So it's all right there, waiting there. You're 100% sure there's anything else laying out there?
I mean, we do this all the time, I know Joey does it all the time. I mean, we gotta close out and balance with the state, or we do not get our last payment. You can get progress payments all along with, let's just call it 95%. Some quantities and things in motion. But the final's the final. That's a sacred document.
There's no coming back.
Cause he'll have to get a release of surety, they're gonna want to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I was concerned about.
So he's sent me the information to release the surety. He's sent me the, pay app for, a certain amount plus a separate pay app for retainage, so.
Yeah, and this is for his protection as well as ours.
You want to restate your motion, please?
Sure. To simplify it, to get it to where the motion is less discussion and more of a directive, I make a motion that we approve, change orders 12, 13, and 14 to Terry's Plumbing and Utilities as has been presented by City Manager John Arbor. And the payment of these will be considered final payment and will be paid upon receipt of all contract closeout documents. Is that clear enough?
Yes, sir. As far as for the minutes, it is.
Yeah.
Is that
All right.
is that what we are desiring?
Yeah.
I mean,
We got it all in hand before we release the
yeah,
last check.
I mean, the final payment, and that's normal. That's not.
Oh, yeah.
That's not punitive for anyone. That's normal. You get your final payment, you get all your stuff together.
All right, we got a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. A discussion. More discussion.
And Dustin ain't fine enough yet.
Question down there? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
You want to talk to Ms. we did that. She'll need to do item A and B. You can just ask for Debbie to, she can ask.
Ms. Reeves, 10A, is that right?
Yes, yes.
Mayor and council, in your packets are two ordinances for your consideration. The first ordinance is an ordinance to amend the State Capital Infrastructure Grant Fund. The second ordinance is to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund. These ordinances need to be adopted separately and in order. The sum of the three change orders Mr. Ogburn has presented to you is $755,533.71. The ordinance to amend the State Capital Infrastructure Grant Fund authorizes a transfer of state capital infrastructure grant monies to the Zoo City Sportsplex to cover the cost of these three change orders. I recommend adoption of reference for the ordinance to amend the State Capital Infrastructure Grant Fund.
We have a recommendation by staff to adopt adopt this ordinance by reference. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we adopt the ordinance to amend the State Capital and Infrastructure Grant Fund by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks.
Yes.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next ordinance is an ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund. This ordinance does three things. First, it renames the project fund to go along with the new naming contract. It will be called Cone Health Zoo City Sportsplex Fund. Second, it recognized the receipt of pledge contributions from the North Carolina Community Foundation in the amount of $185,336.87. Because our fundraising campaign is closed, we have closed that account with the Community Foundation, so now we can recognize those funds. Third, it recognizes the receipt of the funds from the SCIF grant fund that you just approved. I recommend adoption by reference.
Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'll move that we approve this ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Project Fund by reference.
Have a motion by Ms. Heath. Do I have a second?
Second.
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 Mr. Bell. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Nuttall, item 11, you have requesting authorization to enter into an agreement with Wayman Homes.
Thank you, Mayor. City staff has continued to work with the Asheboro Housing Authority through its nonprofit corporation, Wayman Homes, with the rehabilitation of Caspin Homes, which is owned by Wayman. You'll recall the Housing Authority and the Community Development Division have worked together to secure $950,000 in community development block grant funding. That's been conditionally awarded, subject to the city submitting the necessary agreements and documents, one of which is before you this evening. A specific requirement is executing a what's known as a subrecipient agreement, which spells out how the city intends to work with Wayman Homes to carry out the project and use those federal dollars that are passed through the state. The agreement has been drafted. It is included in your agenda packet. It uses a template that's generally acceptable to the State Department of Commerce, who is the administrator of these federal funds. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through that. I'll be glad to answer any questions about it. Otherwise, it is our recommendation for council to authorize execution of this agreement, and I would ask for that to be in the form of a motion by the board. Thank you.
In form of a motion to
a motion to authorize that subrecipient agreement to be executed.
Questions of Mr. Nuttall? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we approve the execution of the subrecipient agreement between City of Asheboro and Wayman Homes.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is he
Yes.
discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Roney, you have 12A, which is a request council action on a resolution to approve for the city of Ashboro local water supply.
Yes, Mayor, council members. Actually, annually, I update this local water supply plan. State DEQ site, their planning division, has an online portal that I enter data into annually. But every 5 years, they require me to present that plan to you as the council, just to see that we are doing this planning and just keeping you up to date with our water supply and its condition. So with that, just some real quick highlights for, this is calendar year 2023. It's a calendar year, and I submitted April 1st of every next year to get all the data together. From our lakes, we withdrew 1.815 billion gallons of water for an average of 4.974 million gallons a day. At our wastewater plant, they just like to look at those numbers. We discharged an average of 3.674 million gallons per day. So those were just some highlights there. Where the water came from, yes, we did use Lucas some in 2023 for about a month, not quite. But those are the numbers: 1.4 billion gallons from Reese and 355 million from Lucas. We did not use a bunch that year. It also wants us to, actually, their plan calls for 4 different divisions: residential, commercial, industrial, and institutional. We don't have those categories broken out in our billing system, so we just do residential and business. So I kind of do some magic numbers there. They're not real particular about it, so they give me the freedom to do those things. We've discussed it. But those are kind of our breakouts with our meter connections. Once again, we're very heavily residential oriented. But you look at our total billed meters is 3.4 million gallons a day. And we use an average of 500,000 gallons of water a day in process. And I'm going to get on that a little bit more. So that total is 4 million gallons a day. You'll go back and look, we withdraw 4.9. We're averaging between 750,000 to 1 million gallons a day in water loss. Some of that I still say is in the processed water we're not accounting for, and others loss. Water loss, up to 1 million gallons. Up to 1 million gallons a day, up to 0.9, yeah, 0.9 to 1 million gallons a day. So
Leaking? That's what I use in a month.
It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's leaking, and once again, it's accounting for some of our processed water that we're not doing, and probably some theft involved too. But that's where we are.
And I can't believe it might be how much.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water.
Mm-hmm. So that's why they want us to do this plan. But those are the numbers. We averaged 111,000 gallons a day to Randleman, 179,000 gallons a day to Seagrove Eula. That's our system sales. The big part is they want us to do planning. So population planning. This is formulas they give me. I've updated those with some of the things Trevor and I have been working on and some of the plans we've done. Those are some projections we have. I won't say they're great, but that's what we have to work with. I updated the demand myself. DEQ staff called me back and said they didn't like the way I did it. So these are the numbers we were given as far as our projections. I think they should be a little higher because of growth and water we're sending out. But that's where we are through 2060, what our demand should be according to the plan. And once again, I don't really call this a plan. It's not a document I produce. It's data I enter in a database, And they don't even really allow me to print it out. This is, what you have in your hands is something I created from their database.
That's sure not consistent with the numbers of EDC.
Exactly, that's what I said. I tried to grow those numbers a little bit, so, anyway. But that is the plan that is on their website.
You need action.
I do. You have a resolution in there, you have a resolution in your package to approve this, plan by ordinance.
May I have a motion to approve the Asheboro local water supply plan by reference?
Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution approving the water supply plan by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 12B, you're gonna give us an update on Wolf Speed.
Yes, I think I've had four work days this week, and 3 days have been solid. Nothing but meetings about Wolf Speed, water line. So, anyway, just an update on how the project is proceeding. We've broken the project into 4 segments. First segment is the existing, tying back into our existing line at Meadowbrook. That's going to be our line in this project. It's going to go from Meadowbrook and Presnell Street, follow Presnell Street. We've selected an alternate route. Is there a pointer here, Trevor?
It won't work on the TV. Won't work.
It won't work. Okay.
Is that what the surveying and drilling is going on now?
Oh, they're hard at doing. It's not. No. Anyway, if you follow out Presnell, you see a little hook. I've got the magenta color there. You see it does a follow Presnell Street all the way to Highway 64. We ran into some issues where there's a 90-degree dog leg. That is the Duke Energy maintenance site, the old site that we're moving out of. But we have a lot of conflicts there with the water line. There's no right-of-way. There's no way we can get an easement. Also, following the 64 corridor, we were going to have to stay out of the controlled access, which gave us limited access to that line. And actually, what they proposed to do was to follow, that is the Duke Energy transmission line that is following. We're going to get additional easement parallel to Duke's and follow that route. And I followed it for a while, but then I looked at it, and I think we have better access there than we do following the control access.
So you're gonna be on the Blue Mist side of the road, and the existing line's on the opposite side of the road, the
Yes.
south
So-
side, going up Troglodyte.
And what you see there at the very east side of that map is where it's going to cross under and tie into our existing 12-inch line, and that's where we're going to meter. And from that point on,
At the end of the purple mark.
yes, and then purple mark, from that point on, it will be metered, and that will, our customer will be the Eastern Randolph Water District.
That was what we had promised Franklinville.
Nope, that's going to be Eastern Randolph's
Oh,
business to take care of.
Randolph,
Yes.
Zelda, Franklin.
In
Yes.
theory, those 90s don't matter, but they do.
I can show you a copy of the model. I have that in my hands, so we've got that taken care of. Okay, so that's phase 1. Phase 2 picks up there. Now, let me go back. I will add, it's this later slide, but I'll go ahead since I've referenced it. They have completed the model. I was supposed to have the final version of the model today. We talked about it in a meeting. He's made some changes to it, so he's got to produce it. It should be complete tomorrow. But the model is showing us we're going to have, we looked at a 12-inch on our system, but I like the 16-inch idea, and the model supports it. So they're going to give us the 16-inch paralleling our system, the 12-inch. And where we start the meter will become a 20-inch line. And it will be 20-inch line for Eastern Randolph District, going east down 64. There were some questions. We were meeting with county representatives today, and they were looking at, do we need 24 inches in some places? So they might go back and tweak the model a bit just to look at it, but I don't think it's going to change. Right now, the plan is it will be 20-inch line the entirety of the project to Wolf Speed once it leaves our system. But the route follows 64 east all the way to, what's the name of the road? It makes a 90-degree turn there. That's where the Western Wear shop is in Franklinville. It's going to immediately follow the street going into Ramseur. We're staying off 64 going through Ramseur, making a river crossing at a much more narrow location. That's almost final. They're supposed to make their final decision on that tomorrow. They have found an existing sewer outfall that crosses the river in Ramseur behind the historic plant, and we're gonna follow that sewer easement. It should be easy to follow and get through town that way. But going back, Wooten is doing phase 1 engineering. This is LKC Engineering is doing this phase. So that's phase 2, but that gets us across the river. Phase 3 picks up in town when it crosses the river, and Wooten's already doing work for Ramseur, and they're doing this engineering phase, and that gets us through Ramseur, back out to 64, out to the road where, at Eastern Randolph High School Road. And that's phase 3. Phase 4 picks up at Eastern Randolph High School, parallel 64 all the way to the Chatham County line.
No, will all that line be new through Ramseur, won't be utilizing any of Ramseur
Nope.
line? Because it looked like that one was paralleling where their biggest line is. It used to go from the water tower out to the mill.
And there were provisions, we put a provision in for them to tie into that line.
So
They're
they
gonna be,
abandon that line?
no,
No.
they're just gonna, they're just gonna make an 8-inch tap and boost into it.
Not that they need
up
the
into
water
it.
down
So-
there either, but I would
so-
not wish they did.
So that's the plan. But there will be a master meter for Eastern Randolph Water District to sell to Three Rivers Utility, who is the new utility in Sanford, that's taking over the Sanford, Pittsboro, and Siler City systems. That's almost final now. So they will be the provider to the Wolfspeed site. So those are the 4 phases. Going back to
You're
Wooten's.
saying we're gonna sell to them and they'll.
We're
sell
selling to Eastern, Eastern selling to
Three Rivers.
Three Rivers.
So they'll meter that.
Yes.
So now all of a sudden, after all this, Siler City is gonna get, they actually had the water.
Siler City is still contributing their $1 million to the project, yes.
I know, but it's.
Well, I think, Siler City received a lot of money from the state, but the state realized that Pittsboro and Siler City may not have the technical capability to upgrade theirs to the future. So the state kind of developed this plan, much like the PWRWA, Three Rivers, which is Sanford, which does Lee County, Pittsboro, and Siler City.
And
And what leaves to be determined, will they be Three River customers, or
They really didn't have the water before the chicken plant opened back up. And then when it
No.
opened back up,
That's-
they absolutely did not have
Correct.
the water.
And Three Rivers is selling the Wolfspeed.
Yes.
Because it's in their district. Or
Their authority.
or utility agreement.
Their authority, yes.
Which that's fine. I mean, I don't care who's the final, as long as we selling the water and getting our price for it.
Correct. So, but to
Doesn't have a cash cow.
rephrase,
I had a question.
no, please, ask a question.
Huh?
And I
They
didn't,
just have a cow.
going back to that,
Well,
you said
they
we
had
had
a
4
cash
something
cow
million
until he
gallons
started
a day,
Yes.
and somebody said earlier, they're maybe looking at 3 or 4 million now. And now we got 9, we need to get to 12, but we're only doing 9 million gallons, we can only do 9 million a day right now.
No, we can treat 12.
We can treat.
We can treat 12, whether or not we can put 12 in the system is our issue. We don't have the distribution lines to,
When this, if we don't prepare as to what Mr. Skeen was bringing up.
yes, correct.
That we be at capacity if we don't do something else before.
With the addition of this line, though, you can distribute to 12 if it's going that way.
Well, but there's,
Is that correct?
well, he's gonna, Mr.
Not exactly. We're gonna be able to, with what we're getting through the PTRWA connection will help as well. So, but yeah, we're gonna get water out there, yes. And the model says we can get the water out there. But going back to our promise, our agreement with Wolfspeed, or with the Department of Commerce, is 3.3 million. Their final demand for phase 1 that we've agreed to supply is only 2.8. Siler City is providing 1.1 million of that, so it's 1.8 left for us to supply. But to make Ramseur whole in this project, they're gonna be contributing some of that. So we won't get the full 1.8 million gallons a day of sale.
So what, is Ramseur gonna upgrade their treatment plant?
Yes, it's part of the plan. Part of the
What
county's.
actually happens.
Yeah, it's part of the budget allocation.
And who pays for that?
The state legislature has paid for that.
I'm surprised they said, anyway,
It leads to, we'll see what actually happens.
Yeah. Mhm.
that's not a matter of efficiency necessarily, but that's what we're gonna do.
It doesn't match the 421 corridor study. It goes against it, so I will say that.
Okay, anything else on the,
Let's see. I do want to update, ductile iron pipe they've done the analysis. Ductile iron is going to be cheaper because material cost is about the same. Installation is cheaper, so we're going to get ductile. I'm excited about that. We're working
The other material?
PVC
Okay.
or HDPE, either one.
and ductile is what we want.
What's our preference? We're worried about pipe pressure conditions crossing the river. We're going to get up to pressures of 260 PSI. They're looking at putting in a 350 class pipe there, and we should be okay. Working to get to 30% design. They're want to get their early procural out the next few months so they can start ordering pipe. Pipe demand is decreased, or pipe is more available, so we're not as worried about getting pipe for this project.
Pipe
How they gonna
is
cross
more
the river?
available now
Pipe is
than
more
it
available.
was.
Are they in directional bore?
DEQ's told them they have to, but they're trying to come up with, well, we're doing the environmental, we're not gonna do the original environmental analysis for that, but they've agreed they want to do it, to go back and convince DEQ that we can open cut. That's the preference still, is to open cut. We're still pursuing it.
On that bridge.
Yeah, we're pursuing the open cut, but right now it's not on the table.
It can't go on piers over that.
No, we have to be under it.
What is the time frame in relation to when we hook up with Randleman? Is this gonna be done before we do that, or is that, I mean, approximately?
The Randleman project, I'm not sure still, we're moving on that, and it could be under construction sometime next year. So it may come in first.
When this is gonna get completed?
The solution is to have water to that site January 1, 2026.
Now, if we switch gears to the Ross warehouse,
No, we're still not supplying that, or we're not taking that wastewater, no. No.
well, you just said Randall.
We're connecting to PTRWA, that's a separate project we're working on. Water.
That'd be different than counter Randall, because we're already connected to them.
That's correct.
Yeah, that comes from Archdale.
And they can't supply where we're connected to because of the elevation differential.
We're making that connection. Okay, so we should come back. The next step is we need to approve a guarantee maximum price and start negotiating phase 2 of the contract. And I may be back next month with that. We're really, to get back on schedule, we need to be on the August agenda, so we're really pushing to get there. So we'll see. Any questions?
Sure is not.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Okay.
It is.
Volume. We're gonna solve Debbie's problem yet. We're gonna sell more water, man.
See you, Mayor.
See you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Nuttall, I need to open a legislative hearing on RZ-24-09.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. This is a legislative hearing seeking to rezone property at 337 West Ward Street from industrial I-2 to mercantile zoning. The applicant on this request is Dr. Zach Dunbar. Again, it's a general district request, so there are no specific uses proposed. If the request is approved here this evening, every use permitted in mercantile would be permitted from the property. There's one pin associated with the request, 0.4 acre, and formerly the use of the property was a contractor's office. Dr. Dunbar is the applicant on this request. The application has been signed by the owner, as you see in your packet. This item, an issue came up as Dr. Dunbar was investigating opening his chiropractic office at this location. The zoning question came up, and he began the process to seek this change. This item has been properly noticed and advertised with letters and signposting and advertisement in the paper. Here's an overview map. The subject parcel is in blue. In the center of the map, you see the purple identifying the industrial. As we zoom in a little bit closer, a lot of industrial in the area. On both sides of the subject property is commercial, and then you have high-density residential zoning across the street. It is on the edge of what's considered the downtown or center city planning area, so there are overlay standards in place that address a number of things that are pertinent for downtown development and growth. This is on the edge. One of those is built-upon area maximum coverages, for instance. If you look at the topographic map, we do have water and sewer available and serving the property. And here's an aerial of the property and surrounding development patterns along with an oblique image. A few photos here. This is a view of the property from West Ward. This is looking east on West Ward Street and then looking west. We've provided in your packet written analysis that is and has been available online for a week. I won't go into all the details. This is a pretty straightforward case unless you'd like me to. I do want to note that as we look at the land development plan, we believe there's overwhelming support to move this from an industrial district to a mercantile district. And for that reason articulated in the plan, and I'll read this for the record. The district customarily warrants frontage on thoroughfare or a higher classification than Ward Street because mercantile is, in essence, a B2 light. It does allow a lot of commercial uses. We do note that there is higher intensity general industrial district around it. You have commercial on both sides. We believe this is a good transition between residential and non-residentially used properties. And for that reason, we made a positive recommendation to the planning board. They concurred with the staff's rationale. This comes to you with positive recommendations from both staff and the planning board. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Dr. Dunbar is present this evening.
Just like the last case we had, it's more curious about the existing zoning than what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I think the application does note that this is continuing a transition away from what had been a lot of industrial activities in this area toward more commercial, so.
Questions?
And it is a public hearing.
Anyone in the room that would like to address council regarding this request?
Dr. Dunbar, if he wants to say something, he doesn't have to.
You don't have to, but if you would like to address council, you're free to do so.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you, Doug.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Mayor Bush, on the consistency statement provided by staff, I move that we approve the consistency statement and the rezoning request to mercantile.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 13B is utility relocation agreement with involving trade in North.
I think this.
Mr. Mayor,
Skip B.
That's C, Mr. Mayor.
and that is all correct, but because this is involving Trade Street, and I understand Councilmember Heath is still on the board with DAI at that.
One more month.
One more month. And because of your status, it'd be appropriate to ask for a motion.
What's my status?
Property owner.
Well, not according to last month.
And ask for a recusal for both items B and C, but only those two items. And you also serve as
Need a
ex
motion
officio on
to-
DAI, do you not? You also serve like have an ex officio position with DAI, is that correct?
I am.
Okay, that's the other.
All right, so somebody make a motion.
Mayor, I move we recuse you as a adjunct member of DAI, adjoining property owner, and Councilwoman Heath as a member of DAI from this discussion of items 13B and C.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All nay, likewise. Okay, with the mayor and Kelly Heath recused, item 13B, I'll call on Trevor Nuttall to for the authorization for city officials to take the necessary action to acquire real property for construction of a new parking area, environmental services collection installation.
Thank you, sir. The city has been working with Downtown Asheboro, Inc. on acquiring property that it owns that would allow us to install this environmental services facility, as well as a few parking spaces, be built between the Recreation Center and Trade Street. In your packets, you'll see the preliminary plat that I have on the screen. It identifies DAI's property, and it being reconfigured into 2 lots. Under the proposal, the city would take control of Lot 2, while DAI would continue to own and manage Lot 1. I do want to note that, the consideration for the city acquiring this would be the investment of approximately $150,000 that the city would put into the improvements that we've described. There'd be no money changing hands between DAI and the city. And at the end of the project, we would expect there to be a total of 4 new solid waste / recycling collection containers. We've previously shared with you a concept plan. You may remember that these containers partially sit underground, making them easier to access for the public and less visually intrusive. And we expect the parking lot to provide, along with what DAI will retain, about the same number of parking spaces that are there now. So we are asking for a motion that would allow city officials to take the steps to acquire the property needed for the project. With your authorization this evening and following DAI's execution of the necessary instruments, we would anticipate construction beginning as early as August. From talking with Public Works, it's probably a 4 to 5 week project if everything goes according to plan. Following completion, the city would remove the can collection structure that everybody's well aware of on Trade Street and work with property owners and tenants within the Sunset Avenue and Trade Street block to transition from individual garbage and recycling cans to use of this new collection area for recyclables and garbage disposal. So our recommendation is to authorize that action to be taken by city officials to acquire the property.
Would that be available for other residents?
Those are some operational details still to work out. We do believe that there'll be some sort of manner that these are secure, that this collection area is secured such that it is not open to anyone across the city, because we'll end up getting garbage from across the city there. So, but the specific of who will have access to it, those are some operational details to be worked out.
Well, I know we've all become so fond, holding a place in our heart, the Trash Master 1000, I believe is lovingly referred to, but this does sound like a
Can
great.
collector one.
Yeah, that's right.
Can collector.
Yeah.
I want to buy it.
We can make a good deal, surplus property. I'll entertain a motion for the proposal.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we authorize city officials to take necessary action to acquire the real property.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Hearing none, motion is passed. Mr. Nuttall, we'll move on to item 13C, authorization for city officials to enter into a utility relocation agreement with Duke Energy for the Trade North Street Infrastructure Project.
Thank you, sir. As we've previously reported, staff has been working for over a year now to develop the plans that would replace and improve infrastructure in Trade Street and on the portion North Street between Sunset and Trade. Wooten, the city's consulting engineer, has developed plans. They've been at 66% complete as we have been working to partner with Duke Energy in a way that would help to facilitate this project and mostly to make sure that we're minimizing cost all that we can. Duke Energy recently provided the city with an estimate related to the relocation of power from overhead to underground. We've included that in your packets. That was helpful information for us to get from Duke. I will say that the estimate of just over $180,000 to handle the burying of the power has made the project staff at least more comfortable that most of the project can be funded by the state infrastructure grant that the city has in hand from the state of North Carolina. Initially, Wooten had projected the cost specifically to handle the power at $300,000.
I was afraid that was conservative.
And so that was good news to get this estimate from Duke. We started feeling better about the cost at that point. With the proposal now in hand from Duke, the total estimated cost for the project is about $1.25 million. After you factor in design costs, the cost of the total project rises to about $1.6 million. That's, I'm sorry, $1,558,000. That's about $60,000 more than the state grant that the city possesses. I want to note that this figure doesn't include any city funding of a program that would help property owners to offset costs that they may incur and likely will incur as a result of us undertaking the project. We have talked to you all about our hope that such a program could be funded to help offset those costs. We believe funding that at about $100,000 should get us at a good number to be ready to assist those property owners through some sort of grant program. So this means that the city's total contribution to the project likely would be $160,000 on top of what we have in hand from the grant to complete what we've been discussing all along, and that would replace all the overhead and underground lines and infrastructure, repave the street segments, and replace all of the sidewalks within the project boundary. We present this to you and ask for your consideration to authorize us moving forward and signing off on the proposal and this estimate from Duke Energy. Doing so would result in Wooten, our engineer, being directed to finish its design from where we are at 66% completion. And that would include the final steps of designing the burying of all overhead lines. If authorization is not provided, which obviously that is your discretion as well, we would ask Wooten to begin redesigning the project in a manner that does not address the overhead utility lines, but still fixes all underground infrastructure that's in need of replacement and improves the sidewalks within the project area as best we can. Recognizing that there will still be power poles in some segments of sidewalk there if we're not able to handle the power as well. I do recommend that authorization be made in the form of a motion, one way or another, depending on your level of support for this project.
Well, I've been an advocate all along for the underground power in terms of just the aesthetics, the rendering. Those pictures are always so pretty, no matter what they're of what we had hoped to accomplish, but I think we were all shocked at some of the initial CYA numbers from the engineers, and I see where they come from. But this, I think this is really good news that it's not an extra $1 million even got thrown at one time to accomplish that. And we were looking at some other goals, because we do have areas there where the power pole's about wide as a sidewalk, I think to accomplish our goals. So I think it's getting down to something reasonable for what we're entertaining, put it that way. But anyway, that's editorializing. Is there any discussion anyone else would like to have with this before we call for a vote? Any thoughts on the matter you'd like to be shared?
This grant, is it earmarked for this?
It is for a downtown infrastructure. It was assigned for downtown infrastructure, and our proposal for its use was for this project.
Okay. All right. Is this the one that could expire at some point?
It does have an expiration date, but this program has been pretty flexible as we've tried to work through these issues. But it will expire at some point. Yes, sir.
Could one of the construction people tell me what the city will need ROW, what is that?
Right away.
Right away, okay. It does look like that we're gonna have to do quite a bit of work after they're in there, right? I mean, from what I can read.
I think one of the reasons the numbers is better than Wooten projected is because we have to be in there replacing our lines. We can do some of the demolition and prep work and bring that cost down as a part of what we have to do anyway. So I think that's part of the Duke's proposal.
Can we get money from that grant to pay the city for that?
No, sir.
Putting the transformers over on that other site has saved us a bunch.
Correct.
It was, at one time, required a vault.
And that was very expensive. Like I say, it's, depending on where you want to view where we started from, I mean, they took about $1 million off this thing. It's,
Yeah.
It sounded pretty feasible for what's gonna be accomplished, I think. Any further questions for Trevor? Discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move we approve the authorization for city officials to enter into a utility relocation agreement with Duke Energy as proposed in the.
We have a motion from Mr. Bell to enter into the underground utility agreement with Duke Energy in the amount of $180,376.94. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Burks. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same. Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is this, we're on C now?
We are on D.
We're on what?
Item D.
D?
Yep.
13D, authorization to schedule a public hearing on August 8th, 24 city council meeting for the purpose of receiving input on potential revisions to the city's community development block grant.
So this is gonna be the item before that, session, action, session law 2023.
That's what I was asking. Right here. Well, that's why I said C.
No, it's this one right here.
Which one are we on?
D.
It's on your, it should be on your screen, Mayor. This is, as a result of the annexation of zoo property and other property, we just wanted to give a quick update
Well,
on.
D's the one I read, wasn't it?
No, that was the.
No, you read,
No, I read D.
I'll go ahead and begin real quickly, Mayor. As I said, result of the session law reference, there was an annexation of 28 parcels, over 2,200 acres into the city. That was an act of the General Assembly. It became effective July 1. As a result of that legislative action, staff has begun to take the necessary steps to apply city zoning to all of the affected areas. I put on the screen the areas, an area that captures what is affected. Any area of purple that you see on this map that does not have a red boundary around it is land that became Asheboro corporate limits as a result of that legislation. Under state law, the city must apply zoning to all of the property within our corporate limits, and we just wanted to make everyone aware that we are beginning the process to do that. I will say that properties appear to be owned by at least 3 entities, the state of North Carolina, the Zoo Society, and the Zoological Authority, as it's identified in the tax records. As a part of this process, soon letters to affected and adjoining property owners will be mailed. I expect that some of you all will get calls pertaining to those notices. We're going to do our best to let folks know what is happening here. The county did have county zoning applicable. It's just the city zoning will now take its place. We do expect this matter coming relatively quickly before the city planning board and city council in the coming months, but there will be ample notice letting people know that that is taking place. So that's just a quick update right there, Mayor, on that item.
Do we anticipate the classification will be Z?
Potentially. Would be in line with what we did at the airport, yes, sir.
Sits on airport.
Next item, Mayor, 13E. That was the CDBG advertisement, if you'd like me to proceed with that. you all will probably remember, I'm sorry?
My printed copy is wrong.
Get this
That explains it. You don't have to explain
one
it.
right here, man.
I understand.
No.
I'm reading from this, and that's what I read.
And I've been reading it. His lettering is different than ours.
From everyone's here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
He don't even have a F.
They don't even have a F.
For the record, I do not hand out the agenda.
All right. Can we talk about 13E?
Sure, if we can. We can, and I'm almost done. And
D, which is in fact our E.
yes.
Community Development Director Trevor Nuttall will present the initial testimony pertaining to the following meeting item. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Whatever
Thank you,
letter
Mayor.
deem it.
You probably will recall what we thought was pretty good news that Ms. Reeves shared at the budget adoption meeting end of last fiscal year, where she informed everyone that there is a potential that the city could ask to reassign our remaining community development block grant coronavirus dollars, which is a different grant than I just discussed as it relates to the Wayman Homes and Caspin. This is a grant that was intended to help folks recover from the pandemic. The good news is the state has encouraged us to propose a project that would still fit within the parameters of that program. And we do have some money that we did not spend in working with the United Way. And we plan to ask for those dollars to be reassigned. And potentially, we have the ability to request additional funding through what may be left through the Commerce Department as an existing recipient. And so that accelerates what we have to do with them because we're a current recipient. In order to do so, we will need to consider doing having a public hearing where that particular project, the Gerald Garden, and potentially other projects that you all or the public may want to talk about can be discussed in the public forum and input received. All I'm asking for this evening is your permission to schedule that public hearing for the August 8th City Council meeting. Just recommend that such permission be granted in the form of a motion authorizing that necessary advertisement. And we will talk more then in August about that funding.
How much money are we talking about? Can you tell us that?
The city has around $250,000 remaining, and we have been encouraged to request what we need to complete the project, which we plan to do so after hearing what other community needs may be out there and potentially eligible. So we have 250 that I think we can move relatively quickly, and then we'll have to see if we can get additional funding.
Do I have a motion to direct staff to schedule a public hearing?
So moved.
What was that? Mr. Burks?
Yep.
Sure. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you have your marching orders for that public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. My last item this evening is a report on a petition for the permanent closure of Hammer Avenue between West Kivett Street and Lanier Avenue. This comes to you along with a request for council action on a resolution that would set the date of public hearing on the requested closure. I do have on the screen the area that we've received the petition for closure. Again, it's Hammer Avenue between Lanier and West Kivett. We have reviewed the petition for sufficiency. You should have a survey in your packet as well that gives you even more information on this. All we're asking for, again, is the setting adoption of the resolution of intent to set the date of the public hearing. Due to the advertising requirements for a road closure as set out in state law, it cannot come back to you until September 5th. And so that's what we're asking the date be set for this question.
Who made the request?
The property owner of the,
developer?
yes, yeah, of the Memorial Square senior housing project. That's that whole block redevelopment.
So that will help get that building built, right, if we do this?
My understanding is they believe it will help them to make that project more feasible with that closure.
Do they intend to keep it as access, private access to their development?
I don't.
Close it publicly.
No, yeah, I don't believe their plans will really include any provisions for maintaining any type of access. We haven't seen the final plans yet, but we'll have an opportunity to see that before this comes to you. The city does have infrastructure in that segment of Hammond Avenue, so we will be reserving the rights to access our infrastructure. Yeah,
It
correct.
allows them to move further from the creek.
It does, it allows them to move towards Hammer and not have to deal with all of that stream implications, that's right. Right now, there's a setback off of Hammer Avenue that is pushing them further than they think is feasible.
They may not have to even have retaining wall on that creek if they can get far enough away from it. They'll probably have to have something reinforced slope, but.
Right.
Well, I will say as a owner of a place right
All
across
right,
the
what are you
street,
looking for here?
that, we use that road a lot simply because our heavy equipment, that's like, nobody wants to drive up to the stoplight
Sure.
and roll back, so.
Yeah.
We always make that loop around, but I'm not, I mean,
Sure.
that's just an observation or a comment.
And, so during the public hearing process, we may hear, you all may hear that input as well, so.
I'll try to keep my brother out of it.
You're looking for action.
Yeah, if you'll adopt the resolution by reference, setting the date of the public hearing. Yes, sir.
Need a motion to approve by reference.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve by reference.
I have a motion by Ms. Heath. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Mr. Leonard, item 14A, approval for a following change order for Terry's Plumbing and Utilities related to McCray Ballpark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have in front of you change order number 2 between the City of Asheboro and Terry's Plumbing Utilities. This work includes storm sewer lines, catch basins, finished concrete, and tons of stone and asphalt. The change order is in the amount of $226,512.65. We received this change order on 7/8, so just a couple of days ago, for the additions made necessary by site conditions and project enhancements. And those were all completed within the last 4 to 5 weeks. The purpose of this change order is for as I said, the additional stone base, and finished concrete and storm drain. And tonight is the first regularly scheduled meeting since these improvements. Staff recommends adoption of this change order by reference.
So as we started this section of the meeting, we did promise to make a corrective action that these would be timely. This is timely. This Terry's was bid through the design build process. And they're out there paving the rear parking lot now. I anticipate Terry's crews will be through in a week, plus or minus, and then the same items that Mr. Moffitt, Mayor Pro Tem Moffitt, and Mr. Trogdon asked for, we will report to the council and have the same documents to close that contract as well.
Well, I'll give you this, it's sooner than the other ones, but it's still not timely. I mean, you're supposed to prove change orders for the work stars. I mean, after the fact is sort of a, I mean.
This is a bill.
Yeah, and, Was that the number that was bid, the 226? Is that the number he gave y'all?
That's for the change order, 226.
But did you know that before you got this bill?
As far as the change order, yeah.
As far as the
He hadn't
226?
billed us yet.
Yeah, but as far as the 226, did you know that this change order that was
So
obviously
He's
approved?
bidding it all based off of the quantities, so in the change order itself, you'll see the actual that's been installed.
I see the
versus-
unit pricing and everything like that,
So
yeah.
he's basically giving it off of the unit or basing it off of the unit price. I will say that all of the quantities were incorrect on the plans, as far as the takeoffs and the bid itself. Plans
Who did the plan?
Huh?
Who did the plan?
CPL.
Okay.
The quantities, they were shown on the plans correctly. Quantities were not included for the entire portion. They omitted some portions of the plans, or in the takeoffs themselves.
CPL,
That's the architect that designed the project.
so they're the ones that fault here. Is that what you're saying? In terms of quantities?
Yes, sir.
They missed the quantities, yes, sir.
CPL.
The architect.
These unit prices, when were these established, these unit prices?
During the initial bid.
Okay. And that initial bid, what year was that? This year or year
No,
before?
it was- I don't have that in front of me, but,
At least 2 years ago.
year and a half, 2 years ago.
So they stuck to it on this one,
Mhm.
and the other one, right, okay. Just pointing out the inconsistencies. How much more we got?
I'm not aware of any others. This pretty much takes care of anything that's been done.
This work order is for the work being done right now, paving the back.
For getting everything ready for the paving, yes, the storm sewer, additional storm sewer that was on the plans but not in the quantity sheets or in the takeoffs, additional, concrete work.
So was the contractor in the takeoff, he's the one that took it off and found the discrepancy?
So the takeoffs were based from the architect, bid documents, quantities on the bid documents.
Okay,
He bid it by
okay.
quantity.
So he had to have it, okay, all right. He'd have to talk with our architect. So this is the finished number. What I'm trying to say is, you said he's still paving.
So yes, paving was already part of the bid.
Okay.
Bid documents.
On the back
On the
side too?
Back portion.
Okay.
Still confused. I'm
Any
still
other
confused. So
questions?
we're gonna get one more work order then for that,
Well, we'll get a final bill, I guess.
We'll get a final bill, yes.
and that will include
Paver.
basically being done now.
That's what's being done now.
Yeah, this is added to the final bill, is what it amounts to.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I move we approve the change order number 2.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell to approve change number 2 on the Gray Ballpark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion?
I don't like it. I don't like this after the fact. You change, what if we said no, we weren't gonna approve it? We're up against the wall here. The council's putting between a rock and a hard space, because we gotta, and we're not doing our job if we don't review this stuff before then. As long as this is the last one. How do you feel about it, John? City manager, how do you feel about it? Is this the last one? You think it?
That's what Terry says.
Yeah, but what do we say?
Yes.
Okay.
There's quite a bit of, landscaping to be done, the islands and stuff like that. We're gonna do all that, right?
That will be performed by the city, yes, sir. That's not in his contract.
That's what I was thinking, okay.
As far as the back end back there, the wall's finished.
Walls.
All the drain culverts are in, the catch
It looks good.
basins
I
are in.
walked back there. It looks really good.
It's, just ready for final paving.
And he began binder today, and they're anticipating finishing the paving tomorrow, and then he'll just be dressing everything up over the next week.
You gonna stripe it too?
Depending on the rain. Striping will be, a couple weeks out.
Okay, and that's included.
All right. Did I get a motion on that?
You did, and you got a second.
Yep, got a motion and a second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Reeves, you got an amendment to the McCrary Baseball Park Improvement Fund?
Almost deja vu. In the aspect that I have two budget amendments. One has to do with the state capital infrastructure grant fund, and the other is with McCrary Ballpark. These ordinances need to be adopted separately and in order, just like before. The first is a change order to amend the SCIF fund, State Capital Infrastructure Grant Fund, authorizes the transfer of $226,513 to the McCrary Baseball Park Improvements Fund. I gotta start naming these things a little shorter. I recommend adoption by reference.
Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we adopt by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Burks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Bell. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, your second one?
The next ordinance is an ordinance to amend the McCrary Fund, and that is to receive the funds from the SCIF grant fund. I recommend adoption by reference.
Questions? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we adopt by reference.
I have a motion by Mr. Burks to approve by reference. Do I have a second?
Second.
Where is the second?
Charlie.
Charlie? Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Leonard, do you have one last item?
Yes, sir. I will be brief at this.
Mayor, before we start, I would move that we would recuse Mr. Swears from consideration of item 15 due to his conflict.
Because he's a resident.
I thought because he was a speeder.
Just for the record, it's
Somebody
technically
make a
also,
motion to recuse.
it's the homeowners association, so he's a member. That's technically what's causing the issue there. The request came from them, so as a member
All
of
right,
the association.
I have a motion to
grant me immunity.
recuse. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Ms. Heath, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Speed at will.
Mr. Swears is recused from this one item. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have in your packets an ordinance prepared by the city attorney reducing the speed limit in Old Town Village to 25 miles per hour as requested by the homeowners association. And staff recommends adoption of this this ordinance by reference.
Have a recommendation by staff to approve this request by reference. Do I have a second?
Mayor, I move
or
we
do I
adopt-
have a motion?
Yeah. Mayor, I move we adopt the ordinance authorizing the speed limit change by reference.
I have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burks, okay, discussion. I will ask the chief and, the captain, is this gonna be an enforcement problem for us?
No, I don't think it'd be an enforcement problem.
Would you shoot anybody who speeds?
Well, I don't know if we're taking that far. But no, I don't believe it'd be a problem.
Okay.
It's Phil Poole in that Porsche car. It's Phil Poole's, probably Phil Poole's grandson in that. Attorney-client privilege.
All right, so, other discussion, questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. You know, that just opens a can of worms for Lexington Commons. But anyway.
Be careful what you wish for.
Fall out of your chair.
No, I was doing something, I tried to drop something in the trash can lightly. but- Yeah, I failed.
Clark, I'll tell Phil.
Yeah.
All right,
When would that be effective? Upon the adoption?
we'll start down here with Ms. Heath.
Did you want to go over the calendar first, Mayor, or do you want me to just?
Actually, I don't, but I
Okay.
will.
Okay.
Special meeting tomorrow at noon. You guys have been tough on me tonight. I didn't have a F, and I knew I wasn't losing my mind.
And he's correct. I will vouch for it.
He had a number and A in the same line.
All right, special meeting tomorrow at noon at the rec center to meet with Piedmont Triad Regional Council about our search for a deputy manager. Community blood drive at the rec center on Tuesday the 16th from 10 to 3:30. Concert tomorrow night at 6:30 in Bicentennial Park. It's an Alan Jackson tribute. And then Sunday, special occasion band at 6 o'clock. Sunset Theater events, Friday the 21st, Friday Night Bluegrass. You know, there's something wrong here. Sunday, July 21st, and Friday, July 21st. Am I looking at that wrong?
There's something wrong here.
The 21st is a Sunday.
All right, so I would say
Friday's the
Friday,
12th.
Friday will be it won't be the 21st.
19th,
It'll be the
the 19th.
All right, July 26th to August 4th, RSVP Community Theater, Into the Woods at the Sunset Theater. Is that it? Ms. Heath?
I've got one other calendar thing, just a reminder about the new chamber president reception on Wednesday. That's from 4 to 6 p.m. That's floating. Just drop by anytime to meet him. Mr. Adam Deeth, who has moved here from Minnesota to run our
Monday is
chamber.
his first day.
Monday is his first day, yes.
That's the 17th.
Yes, Wednesday, the 17th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the chamber upstairs in the meeting room, and it's just a drop in. Sam and I were able to finally make it to one of the movie afternoons at the Sunset Theater this afternoon, and our friends at Randolph Senior Adults did a really good job of recognizing the city of Asheboro for providing that venue, air-conditioned place for folks to hang out on a Thursday afternoon. So I wanted to mention that. And just speaking of just the heat, I just am so appreciative of all of our city employees, police officers, fire services professionals out working in this heat. So thank you to them very much. I also have a question for our city manager. John, I know we're working on a capital infrastructure plan and doing a workshop on that. Where does that stand?
Michael and his team are working on it. We'll either be in late August or September. I think we're shooting for the council to adopt it at their October.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Swears, you can't go home and speed it.
Not until the signs are up. It's not effective until the signs are up.
Like I said, I got immunity. I'm good till the signs go up. All right.
I'm giving them a card just in case.
Mr. Bell.
Just one thing, I sent you, Mayor, and John and Jeff an inquiry about the possible changing of the speed limit of Sunset between Fayetteville Street and at least Church. It's just a general 35 zone, and you got a lot of crosswalks through there and railroad tracks, so that we might explore the possibility of reducing that as we have on Fayetteville Street to something less than 35, 20 or.
That block ought to be probably 10.
Yeah, I think there was a near miss, and so it has prompted an inquiry. So I sent that to the mayor, city manager, and Jeff, and something we might consider.
Yeah,
down
and
the road. So
the engineer team's also looking at some raised crosswalks, like we put it, the Sportsplex in there.
Some platforms.
Yeah, we've been out there and kind of watched traffic, and there are a lot of people that drive through there just to see the show, is what we call it, just to see what's going on downtown.
It's tradition.
And that's fine. That's
But they're
fine.
not paying attention.
They're not paying attention, and we specifically tracked a builder, a dually pulling a three-wheel, three-axle trailer carrying like 18 feet long tin that you put on the roof of a barn. And
Why do they need to be there?
and he came the entire length of Sunset, got in the left turn, got on Fayetteville, got stuck in the double, and then went way up in North Ashboro, and he could have gone the interstate. So we do think that traffic control of some kind may help the people too that are just coming, just doing that just to see what's going on. And I bet if we asked the guy how he got to where he was going, he couldn't tell us.
All
And
right.
that's not the vehicle that you need to be with this 35, 20,
Sightseeing,
that
yeah.
doesn't need to be.
No, there's not. You got anything? Got anything?
No, I thank Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Trogdon for their comments tonight and helping us with this. It makes us sharper,
It does.
which makes us better in all. You can't sharpen a axe without putting it to the grindstone, so we appreciate that.
I couldn't sharpen a chainsaw.
I think you dulled one.
All right,
Don't need any sharper, man.
13th of July is Walker Moffitt's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
It was on a Saturday.
Birthday, dear Walker. Happy birthday to you.
I'm probably as happy as anybody that I'm happy.
I don't have anything. Go ahead.
And happy birthday to Eddie's wife, Andrew.
Yeah, same day.
Same
She
day.
and Walker are twins. You didn't know that?
Same day.
It's in the eyes, you gotta look in the eyes.
And Jeff Schwartz, his birthday was the 13th.
I'll be dang.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, so, but no, as I was listening to all the discussion that we had, I was thinking about other councils and how blessed we are as a council that we have two very experienced people in construction, because the things that they were discussing, because we were just sort of sitting back listening, because we don't know these things about these forms and all these things like that.
Sure don't.
Well, yeah, we probably all should know it, but we can't all know everything, and we're very lucky to have the expertise of these two men here on council to help guide us through that situation. So kudos and thank you to both of you for what you've done to help get through that tonight and going forward.
Bill?
Don't have anything.
Good.
It's gonna rain tomorrow.
We're adjourned.
Hopefully, but not during the concert.